And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Traveling up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers, fly! Yes!
Tango down to nominal.
Fighting downside SPD off. Bring in SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Look at this! Put that in the big bag,
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Thanks. You good? Sure. We don't need any more of these.
7, 6, 5.
Okay, campers, rise and shine, and don't forget your boots. It's cold out there today in Starbase. What's up, everybody? We have the Flight 7 stack on the pad doing, or starting to do, a wet dress rehearsal. At least that's what we think based on the road closures and everything. So, hooray! Some full stack testing today should be an excellent treat. I'm Jack Beyer for NSF, and this is a very special edition of the Flame Trench. I'm out in the field. I'm freezing. It's very cold for Brownsville purposes. But yeah, it's the Flame Dress Trench Rehearsal. Yeah, let's go with that. I am, as always, joined by our ever-competent cohort of hosts. Buddy.
I am doing pretty good. A little warmer than you, although Florida is still a bit cold at the moment. But yeah, this trench, it must have been the Rainbirds activated because we are now in the wet trench here. The wet dress rehearsal, the wet trench. Don't go full screen, Kevin. Hi, everybody.
No, see, he always does that to me, so it's only fitting that it should happen to you occasionally. Also on today's stream, of course, we have EJ. EJ, how you doing, bud?
Hello. How you doing? How's everybody doing today? I'm doing good. I'm waiting here for this wet dress rehearsal. I didn't even get a book today because I'm eyes on the pad.
Are you jazzed?
Jack,
are you jazzed for
Oh.
today's test? I mean, this is the very first time we've seen a full stack Block 2 ship.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's pretty dang cool. Also, we have Ryan Weber in chat. So Webby, thank you for not in chat, on stream. So Webby, thank you for joining us as well for your Starship knowledge. In the background, I do believe we have Kevin, Michael Reed, and Jay operating today's stream. So that is that's going to round us out here. That's the crew we have for this wet dress / flame trench. Yeah, and don't forget, if you have any questions, at NASASpaceflight with your questions, and we'll see them pop up in some software we have running in the background. Ryan, are you there?
I am here. At least my voice is here.
Okay, well,
yeah.
we have a lot to talk about flame trench-wise, in addition to the wet dress. So give us a quick rundown. Where are we at in the wet dress flow? How are we expecting T0 based on what we've seen with the tank farm? And then let's jump into flame trench topics.
Yeah, so we basically had the OLM vent and tower vent start around, I think it was like 350, 352, give or take. And based off their new timeline that they showed us for Flight 7, we're probably expecting prop load around, I would say, 445 here, 445 local. And prop load's a little bit quicker this time. They're starting a little bit earlier. So it's prop load's like down to like 42 and a half minutes now, 43, give or take. I have to do the math on that again, but
yeah, it's gotten remarkably fast, like ridiculously fast.
It's faster than Falcon Heavy. So, which is kind of impressive considering how much propellant, and they increased the size of the ship, and it's faster. I didn't expect them to go faster on this one, but they are. So
It kind of boggles the mind. So we have a little bit until we see that OLM vent shut off, and we are, in the meantime, going to run through some flame trench questions, and we'll talk a whole lot about Starship surely in the meantime as the show goes on. Let's start off and take a look at the old document here and figure out what is going on with New Glenn. Who wants to jump on New Glenn? Because it's not just one massive rocket that we have on the pad ready to go right now. It's two.
I mean, I can roll on it. I can't jump on it, but I'll take it.
Wow.
So
go ahead, Sawyer.
It's already one of those flame trenches. Anyway, yes. So, New Glenn, we were hoping would have been off the ground by now, but it is not the case, and it actually does not have anything to do with the ground. It actually has to do with the ocean. They tweeted out, posted out, that the main concern was because of conditions out at sea for their recovery attempt. So, we are hoping to now see that early morning on Sunday the 12th at 1 to 4 a.m. Eastern Time. So same window, different day. In addition to that, they did mention that the goal for this flight, they will consider it a success if it makes orbit. The actual booster recovery is just an added bonus. So they're hoping to get that, and it would be nice. And obviously they're going to treat the weather conditions as if that is the case. But they really want to get orbit. And in terms of those weather conditions, as of right now, the forecast for Sunday is 90% go, although the ocean recovery weather is considered moderate.
Got it. All right. Well, hopefully New Glenn can get off the ground on the first attempt. That way, we can get all the Cape crew over to Starbase and help out with Starship.
Yeah, that's gonna happen. I mean, what? I'm sorry?
I honestly, I don't foresee that happening, but we'll see how it goes. You know, that's one of NSF's superpowers, is we can cover both of these things at once because we do have teams everywhere. Okay, well, before we keep talking Glenny, let's just really quickly do a couple questions I saw pop up. A whole bunch of people are asking about Starship's flight on Monday, potentially, and they want to know how do we think the wind is going to affect the landing? We have multiple questions from people here about what do we think the wind is going to do. Here's Short Claude Productions saying, according to Windy, on Monday, at a second launch time, there will be bad wind around 14 knots southerly. Do you think that the booster may struggle when performing the catch? EJ, take it first.
Do I think that this will struggle when it's the wind will affect the catch? You know, I mean, how much wind did it say on Monday? Like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about like 20 knots? Are we talking about 40 knots here? 40 knots,
14.
yeah, probably.
The question said 14, so take that for what you will. Also, the tower vent stopped.
Oh yeah,
That's normal. Yeah, it'll disappear and it'll come back again. So that's normal.
14 knots is a little bit high for a liftoff condition. I mean, you know, like Jack, it's hard to say what the conditions would be for a landing. I mean, I would assume if they're good for liftoff, they should be good for landing. I mean, I think that's rational, guys, right? Like,
yeah, that
makes sense. Right,
that's fair. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of like crosswind limit or what have you, depending on the directionality of the wind. But yeah, no, that makes sense. Like if they're good for liftoff, they should be good for landing. I'm more worried about shear than I am about any sustained wind from sort of individual direction.
Yeah. Okay, we see it, chat. We got you. We got you. Is it bad? It's bad. Yeah. All right. So yeah, I think that the wind it's fixed. All right. Before I give this response, let's just make sure we're all good to go. Jack, are you good?
Did Jack go down a wormhole?
I think I might have just warped. You know that show Sliders?
Yeah, man. All right.
But yeah, take it away.
Okay, so I think 14 knots are okay, but this is a test flight, so SpaceX is going to err on the side of caution. All these flights are test flights. They haven't really. I don't think Starship is really at a maturity level here where you can discern like what's good and bad.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it's one of those sort of tea leaves or puzzle pieces that we'll have to discover as the program progresses, I suppose. Cool. Well, let's keep going. I mean, do we want to talk more about New Glenn a little bit as we keep waiting for Starship to get frosty? I mean, I'm so excited for New Glenn, and there's a variety of topics we could cover. For example, what do y'all think of the Comet TPS? It's not going to be painted.
This has
a
been
hot
contentious.
topic.
Yes, in the NSF Discord, we've all been talking about this amongst ourselves. It is a very unique choice. I know there's a lot of people like Harry Stranger, who's a big proponent of New Glenn, that likes it. I think it just looks weird. I mean, when you add in the color mixture of the white, the blue, and then the brown of the Comet, which, for those who don't know, by the way, Comet is the thermal protection system that New Glenn is using. It's not on the whole vehicle. It's on certain major parts, like all the strakes have it, but no, paint it.
I'm surprised you said that, Sawyer. I'm thinking Shuttle vibes here. They painted the external tank on STS-1 and 2, but then they were just like, nah, never mind. I think it looks good with the Comet.
Yeah, but the Comet doesn't change colors as it sits in the sun longer like the actual ET did. Then it looked cool.
But that wasn't like a mandatory thing for the ET to look cool. It just looked more burnt orange instead of like peach orange.
Well, how do you know that? That's my question, Sawyer. How do you know that it's not going to change colors? What if it changes more colors? What if it turns orange?
What if it goes rainbow when it like oxidates as it's coming back through reentry or something? That'd be sick. I'd be down.
I mean, if it's orange, then yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess. But still, even orange and blue and white is a weird color combo.
I'm here for it. Ryan, you're awfully quiet. Where do you fall on this? Unpainted or unpainted Comet on New Glenn?
Both are cool. I'll just say that. One way or the other looks cool. New Glenn's
such an
cool
Alex answer.
Yeah. But
what is Ryan if not the American Alex?
Wow.
Or is Alex the
Spanish
him right
Ryan?
Ryan?
His face? I think Alex is the Spanish Ryan.
Really?
All right, fair.
Okay, that's all right. But if I actually had to give an answer for which one, I think it looks cool without it because it makes it look different. What if you don't need the paint? Why paint it?
Yeah, just extra weight, right?
It's just extra weight. If you don't need the paint, why paint it? And it still looks cool. So
speaking of painting things you don't need to necessarily, and things that look nice and new, Starship Block 2 has some paint on it in place of where some of those tiles used to be. Do you think that's like some kind of fancy ablative paint, or do you think that's just they wanted it to look cool?
Where those are at, that looks like the same kind of thing that they're doing with that they did with the booster when it came to the ramp stringers that are right over the stab point, right under the chopstick lift point. I think that 33 will have it. I think 34 is going to end up having it as well, because I think that's going to be like the kind of rub off paint when they actually do try to go for a catch. And I guess they just decided to put it on 33 this time because that's kind of like where it is. It's like right under the catch point. So
yeah. Yeah.
Well, I got a weird question, guys. Ryan, like I'm gonna serve the ball over to your court here. Like, do you think that could be there for like you said it's there, like, it's going to scrape the chopsticks and they're going to see where the contact point is, right? Mm-hmm. Do you think it's possibly there to see where reentry heating would go by? Maybe it scorches the paint off, right?
Yeah, they probably also want to look at that too. They can compare the painted and unpainted portions, see how the ship fares on reentry, because this will only be the second time they have a ship reenter with that amount of tiles missing. And as we remember with 31, they had a decent amount of warping right there. It didn't look like the ship was too happy after re-entry, but the lucky thing is 33 has more structural reinforcement this time around, so it should fare a lot better than 31 did. So, but I think they're going to use it to just kind of watch and look. And there's a lot of test. There's a ton of testing on this flight, with it being the new block and them wanting to try to catch next flight is what it looks like. So.
We're getting a lot of good questions coming in, so I think we just start running through those, unless there's any sort of pressing Glenny stuff that we didn't hit. I mean, forgive me. Obviously, I'm here in Starbase. I could have missed some additional news, but I think we're all good, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the big thing, is the new launch date for the 12th.
Right, and it's like we've been joking for so long that, like, oh, haha, New Glenn and Starship are going to end up on the same day. I don't think they're on the same day yet, but they're like, what? It's like 30-something hours apart. Just oof.
It looks like 40 hours, almost exact, based on the 2 countdown clocks on screen.
Fun. But yeah, let's do some questions. Ben Gilbert's asking, do we know if Ship 33 uses Raptor 2.5 like boosters 12 and on do? I don't know that they do. Is that a thing? I could have missed that. Ryan, what's going on with Ship 33's Raptors?
Well, they're slightly different than Raptor 2s from before, because I think it was the thrust vector control computer is not vehicle side, it's now engine side on these compared to the last ships. But as far as I know, that's the only change. I don't really know what the block number is. SpaceX doesn't tell us that, so they're just slightly different Raptors to work with the Block 2 ship. Eventually, they will get Raptor 3s. We just don't know when Raptor 3 is going to be ready. The latest we've seen with that is Raptor 3 serial number 4 on the horizontal stand at McGregor, thanks to Gary flying at McGregor. That's the latest we've seen of it, and they've been constantly testing them. We don't know if that's the latest number they've got with that or not, or don't really know. But as far as I know, they're just still Raptor 2s, whether it's a different block number or not. I mean, leave it up to SpaceX to tell us if it is or not.
Right. Well, and that's a good point. They are slightly different Raptor 2s, but they are not Raptor 3s. So I guess the 2.5
I don't know about you guys.
there.
I'm just staring at the tower. I'm watching that vent.
And I think Jack's talking while muted.
I was talking while muted. Well, I was not muted for viewers. I was muted for y'all. Sorry about that.
That's all good.
But yeah, it makes sense. The 2.5 nomenclature makes sense given the context that Ryan has provided. And yeah, Raptor 3 SN4 is on the stand. So this next question from Willie V asking, do you think we'll see Raptor 3 at the end of 2025? Is salient, because if they only have serial number 4 on the stand right now, I mean, they build a lot of Raptors a year, but it's a new engine. I don't know. Let's go around the horn. Everybody wants to see Raptor 3 integrated on a ship or a booster. When do we think we're going to see Raptor 3? By the end of 2025? Question mark? Sawyer, go first.
By the way, I just want to ask, was that the one that rutted out at McGregor? Was that 4?
I think it recently did.
Oh.
If I remember.
Yeah, there was a rut of a Raptor 3 caught on McGregor Live, so yeah.
Starflight
maybe
Pony
the next
10
one on the
in
pad will
chat
be
says
5.
yes.
Yeah, so that's one less. One less then. I think that I don't know if that's something we see by the end of the year, if that's something we see when they go for the next round of boosters, is kind of what I'm thinking. As they upgrade the booster, that to version 2, I think that's when we'll finally see them upgrade everything to Raptor 3s. So I'm going to say next year probably, especially again given the early growing pains, which is expected for a new variant of the engine.
Yeah, that's fair. EJ, weigh in, buddy. When Raptor 3?
Summer this year.
Summer?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Continue.
I think summer this year. I mean, they rolled out with him like quarter 3 last year. That's when we first saw him. They first started shipping him to McGregor. I mean, SpaceX ain't legacy aerospace here. You know what I mean? We saw them first show up at McGregor, 3-4 months ago? I think it's pretty fair to think that, in 3 or 4 months' time, probably like 6, you'll see these things. You'll see these things on a booster. I'd say this year, absolutely. I'll go the beginning of Q3 this year. So I'll take like July or August or something like that, sometime during the summer, I think.
I love that feels both wildly optimistic and also completely plausible. That's fantastic.
Jack, they caught a booster, man. They can do anything.
I've been saying it since Flight 5. I really do feel like we're going to see a significant acceleration in the program in 2025. And this is just the start, which is partly why it's so exciting. Ryan, when Raptor 3? Do you want to weigh in?
Well, first I want to say we've got CH4 subcoolers in stage 1. I think the LOX subcoolers are also going in stage 1 right now. So they're not full bore, so we're not in a prop load, but they're going. But the tower vent went away again, which is a bit early.
Huh. Could be some new behavior, given it's a Block 2 ship.
That could definitely... The vent is still there, but small, but I have never... usually, when it turns on, and then it goes off after a little bit, and then it turns off again. And then when it turns off for the second time, you're into prop load. This could be ship prop load. They could have simplified the chill down process. I mean, you can see the lines going to the QD are frosty right now. You can see basically clouds coming off of them. So, and man, those CH4 subcoolers look like they're going a lot more than we could be into ship prop load. We're gonna have to watch for frost.
We'll keep our eyes on the ship for frost, which is the point that we're at. How exciting! I hope they do a full wet dress and not just a partial, and we get to see this thing fully frosty for the first time. Brand new ship. How exciting! Let me take some time here really quickly to thank some people. Mike ATS, thanks for gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Celadon Hair Extraordinaire, thank you for the support. Chris K, what's up, dude? They say rave hype. I think they like the intro music. Austin Skirvin, thank you so much for the support. Chris, thank you so much. Ninja Decimator, pew pew pew. They say go Flight 7 with a super chat. Thank you, Ninja. Space Pope saying bless this trench with a $50 super. Thank you so much, Space Pope. You always do that every week. Also, holy cow, 2 minutes ago, Space Pope with a $100 super. They say to help with the first oil change on the new NSF truck, aka Pope Mobile. Thanks for the upgrade. Danger Van was good. Pope Mobile RIP. It's not a new truck though. We've had the truck for a while, but I'm guessing you saw some member photos that went live that I took the other day, since we got a cool new logo on the side of it. We finally replaced the logo. But Space Pope, there's so much going on in spaceflight right now. As you know, you're the Pope of space. Between New Glenn and between Starship, we're firing on all cylinders, and the only reason we can do that is because of continued support from folks like y'all. So thank you, Space Pope. Bless your reptilian heart. Phil, thank you for a store purchase. They got the Flight 7 patch, which, by the way, is out. Musical Wolves, thank you for the support. They say, going through family changes, helping my 94-year-old grandma for a bit. Musical Wolves, bless your 94-year-old grandma. We send her all of our love collectively. Right, guys?
Rubber.
Yeah. Thank you.
It always takes us a second to unmute the mics. Yes, absolutely. Times 7.
Thank you. I was like, you're not going to leave me hanging, are you?
Sorry, I
Chromatic Order becoming a Red Team member. Thank you. Apocalypse Cow gifting 10 Red Team memberships. Thanks, Danger Moo. Always seeing you pop up brings a smile on our faces. Let's keep going with some more cues. How about? I'm going to throw this one at Ryan. Wertaz is asking, are the booster chines symmetrical?
Not really. No.
Are they like the grid? They're symmetrical, but they're not evenly offset, right?
If I remember correctly, it's been a minute since I looked at it. I'm pretty sure the ones on the QD side are a little bit closer together than the ones on the non-QD side. Like the CO2 ones are a little bit closer together. I'd have to look at it again, but it's been a minute if I can remember.
Yeah, I think you're right. What you're also right about is what you're going to tell us is happening right now. What's going on?
I'm trying to tell if we're loading the ship at the moment. I think I'm seeing condensation on the ship. I'm trying to see here if we got a zoomed in shot of the ship methane tank here. We have a really this is kind of odd. This is quicker than usual for this. If we really do or not. I'm not seeing anything on the ship blocks tank at the moment.
Huh.
Think,
Well, you
think
know,
they're sent.
they
think they're sending it?
continually iterate everything, so I wouldn't be surprised if they continually speed up this count.
Oh, we can see the new ship the engine chill lines. So if we were to, I think that's, I don't even remember, whatever camera's looking at the ship locks tank right now, if we were to tilt it down a little bit, we can definitely see the new engine chill lines. So the engine chill lines are no longer right on the aft section as they were with Block 1. On Block 2, they run them through the aft flat fairing, basically. So they're kind of tucked away and they're like put out, so, well, they don't need the pipe on the hot stage ring, so it makes it easier to stack as well. But I think we do have condensation on the ship methane tank. So I think we are loading the methane.
Sweet. Step by step, progressing into the count. We got that little venti guy right there by the aft flap too. How cute.
Yeah, that's the new engine chill vent right there for ship coming out of the aft flap fairing.
Go ahead, EJ.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. You can tell it's a ship vent because of the way it is. That's pretty neat.
Does the ship vent know where it is because it knows where it isn't?
That is frost. Sorry, that's frost on the LOX tank. So,
what frothing? What are you getting, a cappuccino?
No, this is great, EJ. Oh my gosh, no, this is great because again, this is a brand new version of the ship, and all eyes are on this vehicle specifically for this test because it is what it says on the box. It is what it says it is. It's a wet dress rehearsal, and we're going to need this test to go well today for a launch on Monday. And again, new ship. You never know what's going to happen when you have an entirely new version of a vehicle like this. So hopefully the test goes well. But either way, so far so good with seeing that frost. Go ahead, Sawyer.
Yeah, cool. They lowered. So LOX load of ship now starts before CH4 load, according to SpaceX's new timeline. And with them loading this early, that means they chilled down the tower like 20 minutes quicker than they have in the past. So, of course, everyone's gonna
That's fast.
They're gonna have to update their timelines. I guess they decided to say, thermodynamics, whatever. We'll chill it down quicker.
I wonder if they started, or if they're going quicker at this point because there is more prop that needs to be loaded on the ship, and so everything will kind of wrap up at the same time. Does that make sense? Does it make any sense at all?
I guess it makes it a little bit. The only other way would be to start the ship prop load earlier, but they seem to be. They're starting the ship prop load later, technically, in the count, and that's OLM vent gone, which means we've got booster LOX load in progress, by the way.
It almost looks like it's probably just those extra stringers, but it almost looks like there's station on the booster methane tank already.
There is. We have frost. Basically, right now, we are in prop load in all 4 tanks on this vehicle. So
excellent. It's a big milestone.
That's 15, 20 minutes earlier than that's about 20 minutes earlier than we thought it would be, give or take, based on the timelines we've had in the past. So SpaceX is making this quicker and quicker.
I'm so glad we get these tests so that before launch day we have a minimum of surprises. Let's see. More questions. We did Raptor 4. Here's one. Ryan, why does SpaceX load the ship before the booster?
Because they don't have they don't have as many subcoolers or pumps dedicated to the ship. So when they redid the tank farm, if I remember correctly, I think it was Flight 3 when they redid it. When they added all the new subcoolers in and everything like that, they basically dedicated a set. They have a dedicated set of LOX subcoolers and CH4 subcoolers and pumps for the ship and booster. So they routed it differently, and then so basically there's less pumps and less subcoolers for the ship compared to the booster. So it takes a little bit longer to load the ship because there's less for it than the other vehicle. So they load it earlier because it's going to take a little bit longer, but they're also able to kind of line it up with the booster as well because there's less prop to go in the ship than the booster. So they kind of line it up to where they start prop load of ship first, they top that, and then they start booster. And what is it? The ship prop load finishes just before booster does. Top it off, press the flight and go. So that's why they start ship first. Dude, those look cool. The new vents.
Seeing this thing fully stacked, it really, I know I've tweeted the same, so if you've seen my tweets, forgive me, but it just looks so dramatically different. Were you guys expecting that? Sawyer, were you expecting it for Block 2 ship to look so different?
Honestly, no. I was kind of expecting it to look relatively similar, and it may just be my uncultured eyes, but it is still decently similar. I mean, it's one of those where you put it in a police lineup, you might not be able to tell the difference, but when you know what you're looking for, it's extremely obvious. I'll put it that way. But otherwise, I don't know. I don't think it looks that much different. It still looks super sleek and super cool, though.
I'd be really interested to see, like put a side by side in front of somebody who does not follow Starship and ask them, like, are these the same or different? I would be curious just to test that hypothesis. But I can say, just from driving around Starbase, even when you're way up Highway 4, it does look dramatically different. I mean, when you're out on the beach looking at it, it really, we knew the forward flaps are moved. We knew there's heat shield changes with less tiles and things like that. We know it's one ring taller. All the Block 2 ship stuff, but man, seeing it fully stacked, it's a whole new vehicle. At least from a photography perspective. EJ, what's your take on Block 2 ship and seeing it fully stacked for the first time?
It's pretty good, dude. I think it's pretty neat. It looks a little weird with the nose cone being so close to the top of the tower in my mind, but
right.
I think the ship does look cool. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't think the moved flaps on Block 2 were gonna look very good, but no, it looks cool. Like, there are shots of it rolling out of the build site from last night, and it looks, it's all right. It looks good. I'm cool with it. I didn't think I was gonna like it. Like, I remember, Jack. I remember when we saw the original tweet, like, how many years ago was that, when Elon was like, oh yeah, we're gonna move the flaps?
Well, there was that on one of the Tim tours, right? One of the Everyday Astronaut tours of Starbase. That was like years and years ago. But even just what was it? I want to say it was around summer or the fall of last year. Elon did that sort of all hands company meeting and showed the slide of Block 1, Block 2, and Block 3, both ship and booster, and we all kind of saw that. And I think the universal reaction was, "Oh God, no," because especially version 3, it looks somewhat cursed. But hey, hopefully when we see it in person, I was going to say in the flesh, when we see it in the metal for the first time, it'll look as good as Block 2 does. Because I was like you, EJ. I was worried it was going to look gross, but it doesn't.
And you grown at my puns?
Hey,
yes.
That was the look at what Ryan said. The all hands. That was the wow. Yay!
Yay!
Wow.
I do love that.
Wow.
That video clip.
The original tweet from Elon was in response to Tim on August 18th of 2021. When it was after all the suborbital hops, he talked about the slight error with the design and how it was pushing the nose up during their descents on the suborbital hops, and how they needed to bring it back to 120 degrees. He mentioned that like once, and then almost like never talked about it again. And here we are. They're about 140 degrees apart or so.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're 140, not 120. It looks 120 would have looked a lot weird. Like 140 is the nice balance.
I'm worried for Block 3 that they're going to move them further.
No, I think these will work just fine. If you like were to look straight on at the heat shield, you can barely even see the flaps, which means they're mostly out of the airstream. They're mostly out of the plasma stream. The passive area is no longer there, which means you're not really going to have the burn through issue anymore. And they still should have the control that they need to. I don't think they're going to get moved anymore, because if they move them closer, they then run into issues they really won't run into issues with payload space, because that top part of the nose cone can't really even be used anyways. So.
Also, by the way, Jack, don't you mean Block 3?
Oh, Sawyer.
No.
Sawyer.
No.
Come on, man.
Hey, I didn't say the other one. I just said that. I just said Block 3, okay?
I'm moving right along. I do want to thank some more people. Josh Zero, thank you for the super chat there. John, thank you for grabbing the Flight 7 patch and the kind words. Ninja Decimator, pew pew pew, gifting 5 red team memberships. Dougal gifting 5 red team memberships. Egg, I'm not going to read that, but thank you, Egg. Jared Solomon, thanks for becoming a red team member. Jared Waugh, what's up, buddy? Gifting 10 red team memberships. Devin, thank you as well. Thomas, thank you as well. They say, why are some fogs green? White balance on the camera would be my only guess. When do you think the first booster reuse and ship reuse? This is 3 questions. All right, first booster reuse. Sawyer, go.
Booster or ship first?
Booster, go.
Next booster. I think the next booster they're going to fly it and then refly it. I mean, this one, we believe there's a reflown engine at least, so they're probably going to go, oh yeah, 1 engine reflew, that's good, let's fly the next one again. So, not this booster, but the next booster I think will fly twice.
All right, booster 15. Sawyer's putting his marker on the map. EJ, what do you think? When first booster reuse? We'll do ship after this round.
I thought I was the optimistic one. I'll say I'm going to price this right. Oh, I'm off the camera. Hey, all right, here we are. I'm going to price this right this and say the booster after the one that Sawyer said. So 2 boosters from now. Of $1, Bob.
Yeah, you totally just
Thanks.
$1 Sawyer.
Yeah.
Thanks, EJ.
Actual retail price. Come on down. No, sorry.
I'll let Ryan answer first, and then I will give my answer. Ryan, what do you think? When first booster reuse?
I just want to say, since the last time I was on TFT with EJ and we had this whole conversation, then of course I had the conversation with Kevin, I've changed a lot of opinions of myself, and somehow, some way, I'm going to be the most optimistic one here. It'll be this one right here if they catch it.
What is
That's
happening?
what I was going to say.
Because they either they reuse this and they reuse this one 15, 16, and 17, or they have like 6 or 7 flights left or less of Block 1 booster, and then what? They don't have a Block 2 yet. They don't. They don't have an upgraded booster to fly. So yeah, it's kind of. I think if they catch this one, I think they refly it unless it's got some bad damage to it.
I'm proud of you,
What
Ryan.
the heck is happening?
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
I'm loving this new leaf that Ryan is turning over. This is great. We've gone from dire pessimism to wild optimism. I'll take it.
I mean,
Wait a minute.
I will still say it's going to be a while before they really get their flight cadence up, because there's still a lot of work to do with pads and vehicle construction. But in terms of reuse, I think they'll get there. I think they can do it. So, there's some optimism with some of the pessimism, and I guess I shocked everyone here. So let's go. Yeah.
I guess we can be friends again, Ryan.
We can be friends again. but ship 26 is still bad, and I'm glad it's scrapped.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes,
I'll agree with that.
We're all glad Ship 26 got scrapped. Now let's move right along with no additional commentary from anybody else. EJ, go
Jack,
ahead.
where were you, by the way, Jack, in that shot?
Oh, I am at the Rocket Ranch Outpost, which you can be at too for launch if you hit up Rocket Ranch. It's a great place to watch launch from. I'm staring at the full stack right now, and if I had more batteries with me, I'd be nice and warm. But I ran out of battery power because I don't know if you guys noticed this. It's 4 o'clock. It's almost 5 o'clock. Pretty sure the closure started at like 10. So yeah, I've chewed through all my batteries and thus all of my heat. But this is one of our cameras mounted at the outpost. It's live right now. And yeah, just an idea of what you can see when you're at the outpost. Thanks again to the Rocket Ranch for hosting us now and all of the other times they've hosted us. If you need somewhere to stay and you want sort of how should I put this? The bonus level or the expert level, or you want to play life, and that's not hard mode, but it's like, you can also stay at the Margaritaville on South Padre Island. That's a great place to stay too, but it's a resort. If you want to be super duper close to the action, stay at the ranch. And honestly, it's kind of cool to do that because you get the experts and all the other hardcore fans that are there as well. So it's a cool little community. Anyways, thanks to the ranch for the sick views and allowing me to be here.
Thank you for the sit rep, Nanook of the North. We appreciate it.
You were waiting. You were.
Oh, I absolutely was. You know it.
Oh man. Well, you know what I'm waiting for is a fully frosty full stack, which I hope we get today. I guess that's as good a point as any to sort of go around to horn on. Oh wait, we didn't do the ship. We answered the booster part of the question, but not the ship part of the question. Sawyer, for ship reuse, go.
Oh. I'm going to pull Orion and say this one.
What? They can't.
Really?
They're not catching this one.
Good try.
I was up early for Starlink today, okay? My brain is kaput. I think they're going to fish this one out of the ocean. No. I'm going to go with EJ and say 2 of them from now.
What?
That's fair. A very measured answer. EJ, what do you think now that Sawyer has stolen your answer?
One ship from now then. Flight 8. They'll reuse the Flight 8 ship if they get it back. Yeah, there.
The first one?
Yeah. It probably won't. Sawyer's probably right. But I also want to disagree, but yeah, I would say, I mean, okay, all right. Jokes aside, let's think about this logically for a second. The first one they're gonna get back, they're probably gonna want to look at. Probably gonna want to take it apart. Maybe refly the engines on a future one. But yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, see, with Starship, it's really hard to predict. With a more conventional rocket, like back in the day, like we could kind of extrapolate what Falcon 9 is going to do, like what the next test is. Oh, that one had legs on it, this one doesn't. You kind of can figure out what it's going to do with Starship, because it's just this testing regime is so far removed from any other type of rocket testing. It does get kind of hard to predict it. But I'm going to go ahead and say that the Flight 8 Starship probably is not going to get reused, or if it does, it's going to get rebuilt big time, like the first Falcon 9 boosters were. Like the first Falcon 9s that they got back, I mean, the first one they got back, which was 1019, that one never flew again. It was the ones after that. But 1019 was taken apart, and they really, looked over everything on that thing to kind of prove that, oh yeah, we can reuse these things. And then further boosters down the road, were reused more. Like even the Starlink 1212 mission that launched today, that was the 25th flight for that booster. 25. So, I don't think it's necessarily going to be the first one. Maybe parts from the first one. Maybe the one after that. I mean, I kind of agree with Sawyer here. Like, sorry, long answer, but.
No, good answer. Solid answer.
And it's now on recording that EJ agrees with me.
Oh, never mind. Delete this VOD.
Ryan, are you muted in any of the places you should not be muted?
I am definitely muted. Talking while muted, it's an NSF stream, and it's gotta happen to everyone at least once.
I could hear you, but I saw chat starting to say 0 by 0, so go for it. You were saying you think ship 30 what?
It's like 37 or something. I think it'll take a few tries to bring it back and kind of really look at it and see how the ship fares before really reusing one. It's because booster is one thing. SpaceX has brought back Falcon 9. Booster is one thing, but the only other vehicle that's ever been a second stage, I guess, kind of basically like a second stage to re-enter with a reusable heat shield, like a carbon heat shield, basically, and then get reused. There's only one other vehicle that's been able to do that, really. Well, I guess other than the space plane we have, but that's Shuttle. So I think it'll take a little bit longer for Starship to get reused and then to figure that stuff
Shuttle?
out. So
did he say Shuttle?
I said Shuttle.
Shuttle.
Somebody ring the bell.
And well, before we go any further, I want to point out, while the ship prop load looks fine and the booster CH4 prop load looks fine, the booster LOX prop load is a little bit short. We're like 20 minutes into a prop load for the LOX tank on the booster, and it's like a 35-minute prop load. It should be like half or over half, unless they're gonna like kick it into overdrive at some point here. But it is kind of odd.
That is a little odd. I wonder if maybe they just go for a partial fill today. The frost is still increasing, right? It's just increasing slower than you expect.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell if it's increasing or not, or if it's slowly doing it. The roadblock is no longer at LBJ. They moved the roadblocks, which indicates a wet dress. So I would expect them to do a full flight load. And with that in mind, they would fill the LOX tank. So I'm kind of curious as to what's going on with it. Maybe it'll just start rising like crazy at some point. Maybe they're testing some kind of different load method where they kind of slowly load it and then go into full gear and finish it off at the end or something. But I don't know. It's just kind of interesting.
Always interesting to learn more pieces of the puzzle here that we're getting built. That's getting built before our eyes. It's kind of nifty.
Jack, that's what I'm talking about. We're seeing this puzzle go together, and it's hard to predict it because SpaceX doesn't even know where the puzzle's going to go. Like, they
haven't even found all the corners yet.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly, man. They haven't found the corners. They haven't made the corners for this thing. I mean, the testing regime for this thing is so different than anything. Like, this is not tested like SLS. This is not tested like Saturn V. This isn't even tested like the Space Shuttle. Something that you could argue is an analog for it, right? We don't know what the puzzle looks like. That makes it really hard to predict.
I'm sorry.
Although
Also, what test flights for the shuttle? The first full flight of shuttle was crewed.
Well,
this is
there were 4. Wait a minute.
Are you talking about all testing?
No. There were 4 test flights for the orbital flight test for the shuttle, STS 1, 2, 3, and 4. They were all orbital flight tests with 2 pilots and 2 ejector seats.
So as I said, they were crewed. I feel like that's a slightly different iteration from here, because obviously, you're kind of throwing it all at once. The hops, I guess, would be equivalent to the approach and landing tests, and these would be equivalent to those first couple flights. But I don't think it's the same. I think SpaceX is going somehow even more ambitious than they did with the Space Shuttle. I mean, yes, Space Shuttle was the most complex machine ever built, and its first 4 flights were with people. But, I mean, I don't know. I honestly think that this is even more, hey, we're going all out on it than Shuttle.
I mean, they're both vehicles on their first flight. One was crewed, one wasn't, but both were they weren't small individual component tests. There wasn't like, oh, we're going to do this or that small individual. It's like, no, we're just going to send a full stack on its first try without even building a flame trench. Hey, I said the name of the show.
Hey, did the thing.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, right. But no, I see similarities and also huge differences in between the testing of the two programs. But I did want to call out, STS-1 and Starship Flight 1 were both similarly, shall we say, gutsy.
Fair. Don't you mean IFT1?
No, I don't. Stop it.
I mean,
Valentin is asking with a store purchase of they got the calendar.
all right.
They say, will SpaceX fully fill the tanks of Ship 33, or will they fill them only as high as those of the Block 1 ships? So we're not even talking about what they're going to do exactly today for the wet dress, which we also don't know. But in terms of prop load for launch, do we think they'll fill it up as high as they can, or do you think they'll only go as high as Block 1 ships? Ryan, take it first.
I think. I think the booster they'll keep it. They might fill it a little bit more because remember they're actually carrying a payload on this. It's not much, but they are carrying a small payload, so there is that. Plus, the thing is, we don't really, as much as Block 2 is a ring taller, we don't really know the dry mass of it. There can be an argument made that the dry mass might be less on Block 2 than Block 1 because they've been able to refine a lot of things. But the problem is, unless we weigh the ship ourselves, we don't really know. I think the load will be about the same on the booster. They may fully load out the booster as a whole. Ship, I don't really know. With an actual, with a dummy payload on it, they might mostly fully load it. But you also have to remember they never really fully loaded Block 1 ships, and now this one has an extra 300 tons of prop you can add to it. So the biggest thing for this wet dress is once the vents come back online is to really see where the frost line is to kind of see how much of an actual prop load they have, if it's like full or near full. So, yeah.
EJ, what do you think? Will they fully fill the tanks of 33? Or will they only fill them as high as the Block 1 ship and leave like a ring or so of prop out?
I don't really understand what you'd gain from filling this up to the same tanking level that of a previous obsolete design. I don't really understand why you would do that. No, I think they're going to fill them all the way up.
I would tend to agree. Sawyer, what do you think?
The other thing to keep in mind also is the fact that we now have mass simulators on board. So it's not like it's an empty tank, or like it's an empty payload bay like we've seen with the exception of a single banana. I mean, why not load all the prop and see what your actual propulsion is going to be when you have 10 full-size Starlink V2s in there?
It's going to be... it's going to be interesting, to say the least. I'm so excited for Monday. Let's keep thanking people. Thank you, Valentin, by the way, for getting the calendar from the shop. Brianna, thanks for gifting 20 Red Team memberships. Brianna Matthews, thank you so much. Cheese tasting enthusiast with a 5-pound super. Thank you so much. They want Mechazilla Jr. to be the name of Pad B's chopsticks. We'll take that into consideration. Paul, thank you for the kind words. How do you think the reused Raptor is going to perform? So there is, on Booster 14 in front of us here, a reused Raptor engine. I don't think we know which serial number Raptor from Booster 12 they have on Booster 14. I don't know if we've gotten it yet. Hopefully, I bet you all agree with me. Hopefully it's the Pi Raptor, the serial number 314 that had the Pi logo on it. I hope that's
I'm pretty sure it is. I think Elon confirmed that on XD Everything app.
Oh, is that confirmed? I hope it is.
I'm pretty sure. Either that or I dreamt it because I spent too much time reading
Elon
X.
did confirm 314. That's amazing. Very cool. Well, so how do we think that reused Raptor is going to perform? Sawyer, go first. I think it's going to be fine.
I don't see any issues with it. I mean, I'm sure they've done enough refirings of engines at McGregor. I mean, we've seen them turn them off and turn them back on a minute apart, and then they did dozens of them in a row. So I don't think it's going to be that big of an issue to just refly another one again. I think it'll be just fine.
EJ?
I don't think there's going to be an issue. There's plenty of flight data on Raptors, dude. There's plenty of flight data, plenty of testing time on these Raptor 2s and 2.5s. I think it'll be fine. I really do. I don't really see. I mean, unless maybe it got like heat tempered from the reentry heating, which, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw that booster catch. The bottom of the booster was a little warm before the rocket engines fired. But, I mean, either way, we've clearly seen in the past that Starship can deal with one engine not being lit on that booster and still make it plenty far into space to complete its objectives, right? So you're in a scenario here, and this is a rare scenario in aerospace testing where you have a low risk, high reward here. The flight data from Raptor Pi, yeah, I'm calling it that now.
Piter.
Piter?
Right,
yeah.
Rapt Pi?
Can we just call it Raptor Pi?
Yeah, that's fine.
We have
the
merch
flight
pies,
data
why
that
not a Raptor Pie?
Yeah, I'm in. It's Pipter. Oh, we got some vents there.
Hampter, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I love it.
Anyway, the flight data here that you can get is invaluable comparatively to not testing one. Like if they put it on there and it blows up, all right, Super Heavy clearly doesn't care if one Raptor engine goes. It's just like, all right, it's the honey badger of boosters. It's like, all right, whatever. So once again, potentially low risk, pretty high reward here, which comes once in a blue moon with aerospace. Most of the time it's the opposite of that, like going to catch a booster, for instance. High
risk, low reward. Although that's kind of high risk, high reward. But yeah, good.
Yep.
Good thinking. Ryan, you want to weigh in on this at all? And I'm being told in the back channel, I don't know if it was actually confirmed or not.
All it was is someone took a picture. Someone had a picture of the 314 engine and said it was going to be reused, and then Elon said good observation. That's the only confirmation we have on that. And then SpaceX said they would be reflying the Raptor. We don't know the number. All there is the good observation tweet from Elon. So I would wait to say for SpaceX to say something else, or we see the engine itself. And that should be that looks like the ship CH4 subcooler has gone back to stage 1. So we might be, a CH4 loading might be done for the ship. So we have to wait to see for the tower vent to turn back on here. That looks full to me.
It looks pretty dang full, which I'm still not used to this new ship. I was like, but wait, and I was like, no, wait, that's all payload section.
If that would truly be almost ship prop load complete, which I don't think it is entirely. We'll have to wait for the tower vent to come back on, but we could have a T0 of like maybe 510, like 507, 510. It's really hard to tell because SpaceX has changed up a few things, and on their timeline for when ship prop loads start and booster prop loads started, is only about the timeline between the two is what? It's only like a few minutes. It's not even that much, and they had like a solid 10-minute span or so between. It was a few extra minutes between when the prop load started compared to their timeline. So things are a little bit different than the timeline they posted for Flight 7. So we're trying to figure it out, but I think we could be looking at a T0 of a couple of minutes from now. Maybe 507, 510. We're just gonna have to watch for the booster LOX tank to finish off. It's starting to get up there. They're starting to load it more. So, and the booster CH4 tank looks almost topped off. So we'll have to watch for those CH4 subcoolers there. The ones that are really, really going. You can see 2 vents over there. On that left screen there, you can see those 2 vents that are really, really going. Those are the 2 vents coming out of the 3 booster CH4 subcoolers. So when those start to go down again, like the other vent to the right of it, that's when basically CH4 load on the booster is done. And those are back to stage 1, as in they're ready to prop load more. They're just not in prop load at the moment. So,
hey Ryan,
you just
do you
look
think there'll
at
be potential as we get closer to that T0 then for them to activate the DSS or the any of the water suppression?
I would expect the DSS to go off. We might even get a full deluge test because they haven't fired that deluge since they static fired Booster 14, which was early December. So they may do a deluge test. It'd be their first of the year, so I could see them firing off the deluge. I don't know if they actually took the tarp off or not. I'd have to look to see if the tarp's still there or not. But my guess is they're probably mostly getting ready for a launch. So I mean, we could see the whole thing go. So
completely
Just look at
anecdotally,
it.
I haven't seen a lot of the MOVAC pumper trucks that they use to transport the deluge water around the launch site in the last couple days, for whatever that's worth. But,
Also, I thought I saw
know,
the grid fins move, so they may have just
Yeah,
done
I think they
another
did a
grid fin
test.
test. Which
Oh,
I
would
mean,
you
I'm
just
sure
look
if we
at it?
had like 9 cameras to look at, we could probably see it, right, Jack?
Right. Yeah, we'll keep an eye for more little testing like that. We'll keep our eyes open. But what y'all should also keep your eyes open for, if you're members, is the members exclusive multi-view. If you don't know about this and you got gifted a membership in chat, you should probably check out the community tab in YouTube there, because the members multi-view does exist. It has a bunch of our cameras. I don't think it has necessarily all of the cameras, but it has like 90-something% of the cameras. It's a members exclusive, but it's public for the rest of this stream as a sneak peek. So if you're tired of hearing me talk,
Sure.
or you just want to see more cameras and you have more monitors, then check out the multi-view. I was going to say the members multi-view, but it's free. It's open. It's public. It's a sneak peek for everyone that's not a member. And if you are a member and you haven't been taking advantage of this sweet perk, well, now you can. But people like Infinity Tech, who just became a Red Team member, or all the folks gifting memberships like Russell Snodgrass, who gifted 20 Red Team memberships, Brandon Magruder gifting 1. Y'all are the best, because now not only can those people who've been gifted a membership check out future multi-views, like, I don't know, say for Starship Flight 7, but yeah, check that out if you haven't already.
Just look at it.
Huh?
Just look at
Would
it.
you just look at that?
Would you just look at look at that.
I still do that. I still say, would you
Yeah,
look
me
at
too,
that,
man.
in that voice? And like
Yep.
9 times out of 10, I don't think anybody knows what I'm doing or talking about, and I just sound like, well, I sound like that guy from the video.
Yep. Just look at it.
Would you
Seriously
just
though,
look
look
at
at that starship. It's pretty cool. It's pretty neat.
You know, it's got those aft flaps. Those are really great aft flaps. Would you just look at those flaps? Just look at it.
Oh, look at them.
I'm so sorry, chat.
Yeah.
Jaren, thank you for the store purchase. They say Flight 7, let's go. Jared, thank you for the very generous super chat. They say, I lost a 5-kilogram bacon bet with Jack that Ship 26 would leave orbit in the early days of Ship 26. This is the Bacon Fund. Keep up the epic work, y'all. What a stand-up individual. Thank you so much, Jared. Jeffrey, thank you. William, thank you. And Frank, thank you. You guys are the best. Can't do this stuff without your support. Here's one from Michael Lambros saying, can we get Adrian and Alex to switch to their native language a minute out to the catch? Really want to hear their excitement with language filters off. that would be kind of amazing. If y'all don't know, we used to call them dailies. We don't call them dailies anymore because they're no longer daily, because, you know, Starbase. But essentially, we put out a video a couple of times a week. It updates you on everything that's going on in Starbase. You can listen to just ambient audio. You can listen to DOS describing what's going on screen in English, obviously. Or you can listen now to either Adrian or Alex speaking in their own native languages. We're not going to do like some kind of crappy AI translation and be like, look, it's in all the languages. It's just no. It's a one-take reading, and now you have 3 different options on how you want to. Well, 4 different options on how you want to consume those summaries. So that is what the message is referencing. If
I
you
will
haven't checked out the dailies, definitely be sure to.
do a quick interrupt. That's OLM vent back and tower vent back, which means prop load is complete. So if that's the case, then T0 is like 512, 511, 512.
So we're real
maybe-
close.
So maybe we watch out for that DSS here soon, around 5. I was starting to think it might be between 510 and 515. I was just kind of waiting for those vents to turn back on. So here, what's the booster LOX load right now? I'm trying to tell.
That's what I'm wondering. I was just about to ask you, Ryan, what are we doing in terms of prop load right now?
Trying to see how high it is. There's too many clouds are in the way. It looks almost. It looks about the same. I think the LOX load.
The wind direction is conspiring against you right now.
Right. It doesn't. It kind of the booster load looks kind of the same as it has from the last, unless I'm seeing something wrong here. There goes the OLM vent back off again. That's usually normal though. Let's see here. Yeah, so I guess we just kind of wait for that DSS here maybe in the next minute or two to really see when that T0 is, because SpaceX definitely changed up a few things from their own count that they released on their website. It feels
All
like.
right, so that DSS, that's the detonation suppression system, right? And that will become the orbital launch mount. So to keep your eyes open for that, keep your eyes there at the base of the vehicle, at the top of the underside of the mount. I don't even know how to talk anymore. You get it. Watch
under the ring, under the OLM ring, I guess, something like that.
There you go.
Yeah,
yeah, that makes sense.
That works. Okay.
For those who don't know, how does the DSS, the detonation suppression system, work? What does it use?
It like sprays water and high pressure nitrogen, if I'm not mistaken, right, Ryan?
Yeah, it's water and high pressure nitrogen, and what it's meant to do is make sure there's no like methane and like oxygen build up under there, so you don't have a spin boom like with Booster 7.
So kind of like the equivalent of the sparkers that they had, the Rofies underneath the space shuttle to burn off any excess hydrogen. It's the same thing, except they use nitrogen instead of sparks.
Yeah, and instead of burning anything off, they just prevent it from being able to be, what is it? What's the word, EJ? Stoichiometric? Is that a word? Is that a real word? Or did I just make that up?
Stoichiometric is right. Yeah, that's correct.
Stoichiometry?
Stoichiometry? The study of stoichmo? Fourth grade, Jack.
Thank you. Thank you, EJ. But yeah, basically, if you get just the right mix of methane and oxygen in a confined space, or even when it's just not that windy, it'll find an ignition source, and you're going to have a bad time. See also the Booster 7 spin prime explosion, RIP White Hose, 2022 to 2022. Never forget. Was it 22 or 23? I actually forget when that was. Booster 7 would have been 2022, right?
This Booster 7 spin boom was July 11th, 2022.
Wow. It feels like ancient history at this point.
It kind of is. It's 2.5 years ago.
Right. Oh, goodness. Well, I mean, that looks like a pretty dang full vehicle. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to call it full? Or we want to say this is a partial load, but like mostly full? How do we want to classify this? EJ, I'm curious what you think first, just because I want to make Ryan mad at me.
It looks full to me, Jack.
I would agree. Are you a ship half full or a ship half empty kind of guy?
I am neither, to be honest with you. If the ship is half full or half empty, that means you didn't engineer it right.
Fair. Sawyer, what do you think?
Or that means you're halfway to orbit, hopefully.
Also, yes.
I mean, I would call it at least a pretty darn close to full wet dress rehearsal if we don't call it full. PDCT FWDR.
Wow. A+. Ryan?
Thank you.
I'd say it's a full load for what they want to do. I think you could put more in the booster LOX tank, but they might not need to. So Because they've basically underfilled all the flights so far. Because, well, you don't really need to fill it full if not like that. I don't think the booster methane tank isn't even fully full. That's not up to the dome. The dome's a little bit higher than that. So
Right.
um,
You know what?
but
makes
it's
me really
full
excited?
for what it needs to be. So
It makes me really excited for the first launches we get with an actual factual, like real functional payload. That way we can, I don't know, I feel like they're going to have to use higher thrust at liftoff. I don't know. Only then will we really truly be experiencing the Starship liftoff, right? Because it's going to have to be higher thrust. It's going to have to be more fueled, more powerful. Dare I say, more better?
But you don't think we're going to see that here? Again, we have essentially a first payload. This is supposed to be a mass simulator, right? You caught them loading them in, you and Mary. So
Right, but there's only 10. Like, I don't know how many we're expecting a Starship to carry during an operational Starship flight. I guess that's a question I can ask Ryan. Ryan, how many are we expecting Starship to carry on an operational Starlink flight?
based off the sizes, I think it's about 54.
Neat.
54 version 3 Starlink satellites. And
Really?
they deploy them in pairs of 2 through the PEZ dispenser. So they literally get there's basically a chain system that they're hooked into. They get lowered down, hooked into the chain system, and the chains literally just throw them out of the ship.
This is gonna date me, but you know what it kind of reminds me of? You ever go to a dry cleaner and you see those like racks that they have the clothes on that like zip the clothes around the store, like giant conveyor belt of clothes?
yes.
That's like, I don't know. For whatever reason, I picture the Starlink mechanism as janky and rudimentary as that, but I'm sure it's much more serious.
It's a cool system when you really look into it. It is a really cool system. It's kind of ingenious the way they decided to do it for Starlink. Unfortunately, unless someone decides to design their satellites like Starlink and is thin so they can fit through that payload door, SpaceX is going to have to come up with some kind of door to open up the entire payload base. So I'm hoping we see something like that soon, along with the tech. Because like this year, we could easily see by the end of the year, we'll see operational Starlink missions, see a tanker, probably I bet we'd see a tanker version, maybe even the early spots of a depot, possibly early parts of HLS, more parts of an HLS, and then maybe even a cargo door prototype. Well, another cargo door prototype.
I'm almost bummed that Senator Shelby is gone because now I can't make a big deal out of the word depot. He said depot!
We said that, Jack, and somewhere Eric Berger's like, huh? Somewhere. He's like, yeah, that word.
No,
Yeah, all right.
the real reason that it's a shame is because now you can't, when they change it, call it a clamshelly.
Wow. Wow, Sawyer. Speaking of wow, a whole lot of support on this stream from everybody. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Methane Man with a $50 tip to tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Methane Man, you're the best. We also had a super chat there from Alex asking, are they still planning to catch a ship on Flight 8? They will need both towers. They won't, because the ship's going to have to orbit for a little bit before it comes back, and that'll be enough time for them to set down, I presume. But as to the mission at hand, do we think they're still planning on a flight, on a catch on Flight 8? I think the wording there is probably kind of important. I don't think they're even planning yet because they want to see how this is going to go first, Flight 7, right? EJ, what do you think?
So, SpaceX is using an iterative design philosophy, which is, fly a lot, fail forward, learn as much as you can per flight, but iterate on it every time. Jack, I agree. It very much depends on how good Flight 7 goes. Sorry, I won't try to have the camera on myself. It very much depends on how Flight 7 goes. I think Flight 7 is going to go just fine. And I think they will proceed to 8. But the flight data from the previous flight really will determine, the regime of the next Flight 8. Flight 7 will determine Flight 8. Just like what they learned on Flight 1, they fixed on Flight 2.
And
They learned on 2, they fixed on 3, etc. Et
DSS.
There's DSS.
yeah, baby.
Huh. Interesting.
So there's our notional T0 right there. I mean, that's pretty great.
The DSS starts 25 seconds before the T0, and then of course it runs for longer than 25 seconds. But it's kind of odd because the DSS is supposed to be like a minute. It's supposed to be like, what is this, 2.5 minutes after prop load is finished. And it's definitely been more than 2.5 minutes since prop load's finished. So I don't think they're following that exact count totally.
Maybe they just tested like the 40-second hold or what have you. I'm just like throwing out guesses left and right. Forgive me.
Yeah. I think if we end up seeing a water deluge, usually during wet dress rehearsals, they do it once they've detanked. So it might be a bit. And there's the old M vent opening up, which means they could be into detank now. And there's
that audio was delightful.
And there's that's some of the depress valves, I think, on the recondensers section of the tank farm for the CH4. So I think they're probably detanking. So
just want to take a moment here for everybody to appreciate that we are seeing a test of a brand new ship on top of, I mean, it's not a Block 2 booster, but I don't really think any of these vehicles are identical to one another necessarily. I mean, there's like kind of the times where they build, 2 ships or 2 boosters almost concurrently, and it's like they're twins. But there's always a slew of mods that a vehicle gets before flight that are, based on all the iteration that's taken place, all the learning that's taken place. So, yeah, I don't know. Completely new vehicle. It's always fun. It's always a treat. I mean, just imagine time, I don't know, 2-3 years from now, when it's like Falcon 9, and seeing a new Starship stack is a novelty. It's gonna happen,
Man,
right?
that would be strange.
It's just thinking about the new ship on here is I'm kind of surprised they filled this thing. Like, they basically filled the ship max. So there is about, from what I can tell, there's about 1,500 tons of propellant. I think it is, or give or take. I gotta remember my math here.
Yeah, it's gone from like 1,200 or 1,300 to 1,500 tons of prop on the ship.
Yeah, it's about 1,500 metric tons of prop now on that ship. And the booster seems to be loaded about the same as with Block 1. So I'll just say this. If they really do fill it and add that extra 300 tons plus the payload, that separation velocity is probably going to be a little bit lower than in the past, unless these Raptors are more powerful and they've got more, or they're running them at higher throttle or something along those lines. Unless they're doing something like that, the separation velocity might be slower. But then again, you also have more prop in the ship to compensate for it. So, I honestly will have to wait and see for the flight, which at this rate might be in 70 hours, 37 minutes. So.
Oh my God, it's so soon.
But who's counting?
Henry Slack is asking, why do they do a wet dress rehearsal if they cryo test both vehicles? What's the point? I mean, it's about testing that's why it's a wet dress rehearsal, right, EJ?
Yeah. You can cryo test the vehicle individually, cryo test the booster individually. That's all fine and dandy. This is testing the integrated system. This is testing tanking them both at the same time. It's testing the plumbing on the launch pad, make sure that's all working correctly. This is basically a simulated countdown. SpaceX had a countdown timer, and they were targeting a T0, and they went through the entire countdown. The only thing they didn't do is light the engines and turn on the sound suppressor, or the pad deluge. That's the only things they didn't do. But otherwise, this is your final exam. So you wouldn't want to test individually for a final exam like that. That's not, you test as you fly, right?
Right.
By the way, Kevin and I thinking the exact same thing. So you're saying that this would be an integrated test of the vehicle, maybe like an integrated flight test? IFT?
No,
No.
it's not flying. Stop trying.
Dang,
Hey,
he's
that
got
was saying
bars.
Michael Reed and I. Okay, that's
The-
2.
The biggest thing with a wet dress, specifically a wet dress rather than just a prop load test, is you're not only just testing the vehicle, you're testing the pad systems too. You're basically going through as if you wanted to launch it, going through your count. You're just not firing the engines or other things like that. Is basically what you're doing. So you're exercising all the valves. You're going through all your pumps, your subcoolers. You're going through, and then same thing through the vehicle, tower, OLM. You're literally working through everything. And the reason to do this with the ship is this ship's got a lot of changes over Block 1. It's not just the fact that, it's one ring taller, new forward flaps. The header tank package is completely changed. It's got COPV changes. They have upgraded the valves across the whole thing, avionics upgrades. That you could just go down the list. I mean, for one, the transfer tubes are now vacuum jacketed transfer tubes. Instead of a single transfer tube to all the engines from the common dome, you now have 4. Each RVAC's got its own, and then there's the one center for the Center 3 Raptors. There are a ton of changes with this vehicle, and SpaceX wanted to do a full true prop load with CH4 and LOX to make sure everything's working correctly. Will they do it for Ship 34? I doubt it. I doubt what they might do for that is maybe just a partial prop load test. But there's and whatnot. I think the next true wet dress rehearsal is if they were to make another big change to Block 2 of Ship. But I think it would really be Block 2 of Booster, and that might be on the new pad whenever that happens. So this could be the last wet dress for a while.
Maybe they just do partials going forward. Like they don't need to do a full wet on the second Block 2 ship, and then maybe they do a full wet dress rehearsal when they have the first Block 3 or the first Block 2 booster out there. Something like that would make sense, right?
Yeah, and then I think I actually, now that I think about it, they may do one other wet dress on this pad because there are 2 methane tanks they still have to hook in, which might be hooked in for Flight 8. Plus, they brought in, I think it was another 3 horizontals, or 2 or 3 horizontals they got to hook in for locks. So once those are hooked in, they may do a wet dress to test those tanks and valves and everything like that. But in terms of vehicle changes, I think the next one would be like a Block 2 booster to do a wet dress for. So
Talking while muted. Sorry. No, that would make sense. Thank you for that, Ryan. I also want to say thank you to everybody out there who is hitting up the old merch store and grabbing some of our merch. You can see I am wearing, I don't know if I can get it on. Oh, yeah, there we go. I am wearing the shirt. It's a great shirt. It's a great patch. You can get it in shirt form. You can get it in hoodie form. You can get it in patch form. It's a pre-order. You can see right there, it says pre-order. As soon as it gets to our warehouse from the manufacturer who specializes in patch production, that's why they're so good, we will ship it out. So pre-order the patch, but you don't have to pre-order the other stuff. That is all good to go. You can get it on mugs. You can get it in sticker form, whatever you want. But really, the merch store is like one of the stools upon which NSF stands, and we couldn't do it. Couldn't do it without your guys' support. And so, you can do the super chats. We appreciate that so much. One of the legs on the stool. You can watch the ads, hit the like button, subscribe. Doesn't have to be a monetary thing. That's another leg on the stool. Another leg on the stool is the merch store. And the cool thing about that is you get something in return for your support. So pick out a design, pick out a collection, whatever you want to grab. It is so appreciated from all of us because we couldn't keep doing this without y'all's support. So whether it's a metal print or a patch shirt or one of our past designs, make sure you check out the merch store. Honestly, it means the world to us to be able to do such a cool thing. And not only that, when we're out here and about at Starbase and we're walking around on the beach and we see people wearing our merch, or when I'm over at Hopper House, oh my goodness, and I see people wearing our merch, it's a treat. It really is. It's humbling. So thank you to everybody for even considering checking out the merch store. We love what we do, and we want to keep doing it. We want to keep doing it better and keep adding to it. Oh God, I'm going to use a Disneyism. We want to keep plussing our coverage. Oh, I feel dirty.
No.
No. Don't.
That's a
don't
Disney
do that
thing.
again.
No, that's a Disney thing. I didn't make that up. You can't be mad at me.
I know it is. No.
So, Jack, I got a question. Isn't another leg on the stool the socials? All the socials that we run? Like the one that LSR has, where he posts
The
awesome
socials
pictures?
are a leg on the stool. You can find us on Twitter, now X, Instagram. I think we even have a TikTok. There's a Facebook. The socials team does a great job. So if you want to know what's going on and you want to keep track of all of the events in the lead up to launch, as things change, things are so fluid in the lead up to launch. It's like, oh, what's going on? Is it T0 change? Are they still going for Monday, et cetera, et cetera? Just follow us on the socials. Then you'll know everything we do.
Yeah, and we're now on Blue Sky. Also.
I saw Dan this morning right after he woke up. Y'all don't want to know what that looks like.
Oh.
Yeah, we are on Blue Sky now too, by the way.
Oh, sweet.
And
that
may be blue. I do just want to point out that people were saying, was that Jake purring into the microphone when you heard that noise? Spoiler alert, yes. Jake is currently curled up on my lap, pretty much purring right into my love. There he is. There's Jake. You see him on my lap. So
I feel like we need a poll in chat. Is Jake the goodest boy?
Isn't that kind of a
we
dog
know
thing?
the answer to that.
I would argue yes.
Say that's more like that sounds like more of a dog thing, but still, it's good. Cat.
How can you not say this is the goodest boy?
I would say Jake is a very dog-like cat, but I've also never met Jake. Anyways, Starship, am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I guess.
There's this the tallest, once again, the tallest rocket in the world ever is
For the first
Frosty.
time.
Yeah, again.
What is this, number 3?
yeah, because you originally had Ship 20 Booster 4, which was the tallest rocket ever. Then you had Ship 25 Booster 9 because you added the hot stage ring, and now you added another ring onto the ship, so now you have Ship 33 Booster 14. So once they make Block 2 of Booster, it'll then become again the tallest rocket ever. And then when they get into Block 3 and whatnot, it'll once again be the tallest rocket ever. So, it just keeps on going.
Pretty nifty. Also, I'm being reminded in the back channel that we are also on Blue Sky. We're NASASpaceflight.com on Blue Sky if you're over there. Wherever you're at. Wherever you get your spaceflight socials, we're there. Holy cow. Russell Snodgrass with a $100 super chat 40 minutes ago. I mean, we were in fueling and stuff, so I apologize, Russell, but you're a guy. You get it. You've been around for a long time. You're an OG tank watcher, but seriously, Russell, that's incredibly generous of you, so thank you. They say, NASASpaceflight. Y'all have the best chats and coverage. Last night's split screen of Glennie going vertical with Max and Flight 7 stacking with Jack was awesome. It's why I support. Russell, you're awesome. It's why we can do what we do, is your support. So, hey, talk about symbiosis. Seriously, thank you so much, Russell. That is insanely generous of you.
And I believe they're actually in Starbase. Or no, Russell isn't. Snodgrass is. There's a lot of our viewers that are down there already.
Yeah, you know the drill. If you
Thank
see
you,
us out
Russell.
and about working while you are down here, please come over and say hey. We're never going to be mad at you for coming over and say hey. We're always going to say, yay, thank you for watching our stuff. That means the world to us. We may be busy. We may not be able to have a long conversation, but yeah, come over and say hi. It's always a treat to see viewers out here in Starbase.
What do you mean? You're going to stop and have a 65-minute dissertation about bacon with every single person?
One of our SBL ops, Roger, and I think he and his wife gave me a bacon calendar for 2025. I think there might be some member content involving the bacon calendar. Let's just put it that way. There's really cursed recipes in it.
Oh, jeez.
Let's see. So we think we're in detanking now, Ryan, or do you think we're holding with a certain load for some reason? What's your take on what's going on?
Well, I haven't seen them. I think we're in detanking, but sometimes it takes a little bit for that frost to go away, and also it's not like it's that warm down there in Starbase right now, so frost might take a little bit. The frost might take a little bit longer to go away, so they could be detanking. It's just the frost is not receding much because, well, outside air temp kind of helps with that. I mean, it kind of shows it's a little chilly down there because Jack's all bundled up and.
I got my beanie, I got my hoodie, I've got my windbreaker jacket, I've got my pockets full of hand warmers. I've got wait, there's more. I've got a heater. It's cold.
What's the temperature there?
Okay, this is the part where you make fun of me because like you're from the north and you're like, that's not actually cold. I'm way better than you. But you know what? It's only 47. That said, it's not the number, okay? It's not the number. I can deal with 47, no problem. I go out to the desert in the winter, it gets below freezing. It's no problem. The problem is the humidity and the wind. The wind is really what makes it brutal. Also, when it's like misting, when you're like basically walking around in a cloud and it's like everything up to raining but not raining and all of your stuff gets soaked through and it's windy and it's 40-something degrees, yeah, that's cold. I mean, this is the part where you make me feel bad for essentially still
that's
being
not
Floridian.
cold at all. I'm better than you. I'm cold and reaches 0 Kelvin or something. No, that's
I would like to point out it was colder than that where I am last night in Florida.
Did you go outside?
Yes, I actually did. I had my window open all night. It was beautiful.
Were you outside for 8 hours in the misting rain shooting Starship?
I had my windows open for more than 8 hours.
That's not. I'm sorry, Sawyer. You can't. That is a false equivalency.
I mean,
fellas,
we'll say this: it's at Port Isabel right now, overcast to 48, winds 8 miles an hour, but gusting up to 26. Wind chills. They're saying wind chills around 44. Probably gets down to 40. And humidity's at 74%. Yeah, I can see that. It kind of adds up. The wind.
I use Carrot Weather. It's saying it feels like 42 right now, and that's Brownsville, not Boca Chica. So I don't actually know what the temperature is here in Boca. I should check our weather station. Actually, somebody vamp. I'm going to check our weather station.
It was
Jack. I have a question.
Oh,
but
Kevin,
that's not vamping.
So much for vamping.
What?
Aren't you inside?
I am.
So you have all those things, plus the protection of walls.
It's Kevin. I can hear the amusement in your voice, and I assure you, you're an idiot. No, I love you, but no, there's no heat. There's no heat in this room. Also, even if there was heat in this room, aside from my little plug-in heater thingy, I mean, as you know, we've been doing battery swaps on all of our sites around Starbase because of the weather. It means we are not getting as many photons in our solar panels as we need. And turns out the ranch outpost also runs on solar and also is low on power right now. So I'm not about to sit here and turn on some massive heater or something. I'm just going to use this little battery I have, and this little generator I have, and this little heater I have, and you're going to give me guff, but that's okay. You give me guff always anyway.
No, I'm not. I just give you a hard time because I love giving you a hard time, you know?
yeah, that's what I was doing too, Kevin.
Yeah. I know you've been outside all day long, and it doesn't matter if it's 70 degrees or if it's 20 degrees. If you're outside all day long in this kind of humidity, you're going to be cold.
The best part is our dryer is broken. So when I get back to the house at the end of the night with damp clothes, no way to dry them. So that's fun.
Why is the dryer broken, Jack?
I don't know. I don't know, EJ. I'm not a dryerologist.
It's a stoichiometric dryer.
Does it say Dan's a fixer of things, right?
He looked at it. He couldn't fix it. Even Dan couldn't fix it.
Man, that must be really broken if even Dan can't fix it.
Or he's the one that broke it, and he's just using this as a cover-up.
Boy.
All right, let's do some more questions.
By the way, problem solver Dan, I just want to point out, did in the back channel just call you a wimp.
That's all right. I burned him real good earlier, and he probably didn't hear it.
Wow.
TerraSpace is asking, will Starship ever land on a barge? That's a pretty big and broad question. I think it's not unlikely, but also, how are you going to land it on a barge? You're going to have a tower on a barge? Is it going to be like a variant with legs that's specifically for downrange landings? I don't know. But I mean, never say never.
I will
Never.
call back to the small piece of information that was in the tiered environmental assessment that they kind of they added in. That EJ noticed at one point was the using of a breakover fixture or something for the ship, like out at sea, and I was like, huh? So how are you gonna catch this thing? You gonna have to put a tower on a barge or something, or are you gonna have one that actually has landing legs? Because the ship will still need landing legs to get to Mars. It's not like they're going to build a tower on Mars with catch arms. So at least not yet.
I think at a certain point with Starship,
Ryan, I think
we'll
that
get
the
to
breakover fixture is for transport, personally.
Right.
But I mean, if you were gonna, I mean that, guys, okay, you see the shot that's on your screen right there. You see that the tower has 4 big posts, at cardinal positions, right? And then the carriage is attached to 3 of them, right? Those 4 big posts aren't just metal; they are filled with concrete. That's the only way to get this thing strong enough to be able to hold up Starship without like a counterweight or something. It's basically straight resisting the bend, so to speak, to speak in non-civil engineer terms, right?
Can we get some loudspeakers on boosters so as it's coming back, it starts yelling "Stop resisting" at the tower?
Stop resisting, right? So the point that I'm trying to make is that tower is extremely heavy. If it's not going to be on a barge, if there, a couple of people said it in chat, if you're going to put that on something, it's going to be on an oil rig, a big oil rig, like as big as you can get.
Right. And if you remember, NSF broke the oil rig story. What was that? Back in like 2020, probably. And then we found the oil rigs, and then SpaceX scrapped the oil rigs.
Yeah, now they're just broke.
Dude, well, they got them for like $1 a piece, so they were worth more as scrap, presumably, than just hunks of metal rusting in the water and like taking up berthing fees and all that stuff. But
I mean, they did use pieces of one of them. I don't remember which one it was. But
that's what I was about to say.
One of the winches. One of the winches is on the first tower. So, yeah,
super cool.
But yeah, I don't think they would ever actually do a catch on a barge. I'm just saying it right now. I'm gonna go out and say never. I mean, maybe if it's like a point-to-point type deal in the future and it needs to be offshore, but with the current architecture, if we're talking no point-to-point for just launches, it makes 0 sense. This kind of goes along with Peter Beck that absolutely hates marine assets. Same kind of deal. I get why he hates them. It makes no sense to do it for something this big and this massive. Just build a whole bunch of pads in a whole bunch of places.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Peter Beck, because I was sort of thinking, at a certain point with Starship, we'll get to, I think, a point where SpaceX is willing to do things to accommodate a customer. Now, do I think it's likely a Starship ever lands on an ocean platform of some kind? Not necessarily. Do I think it's never going to happen? Also not necessarily. Like, I'm not comfortable saying never. And like Rocket Lab will say to a customer, hey, you want a weird shaped fairing? You need a fairing with like little bits that stick out because your payload's kind of weird shaped? Or you want an oblate spheroid? You want a pointy one? Like, what do you want? I think at a certain point we'll get there with Starship. Maybe there'll be a customer someday who's like, look, we really just want to send this thing in this particular way. Can you build a Starship with legs that'll land downrange? And SpaceX, who knows? If they're getting enough money thrown at them, maybe they'll be like, sure, why not? But it certainly would be surprising. Hal9000 is asking, what does the crew think the fate of Booster 12 is? So the other day, SpaceX moved Booster 12 from the rocket garden where it had been staged since landing and rollback. They moved it to Mega Bay 1. It is now inside Mega Bay 1. Mm-hmm. Oh, geez. A lot of people are thinking for the future of Booster 12. Given what happened to Ship 15 and so many others, what do we think is the fate of Booster 12? EJ, I'll let you take it first.
I think they're going to take parts off of it, take as many parts off of that thing that are operable, put them on another booster, and then...
Really? You think they're gonna yoke it? They're gonna kill it?
Dude, nothing is sacred down there. They scrapped Ship 15.
I mean, fair.
They scrapped Ship 26.
Wow.
Who cares?
Aren't you supposed to be operating the stream? Go away. Sawyer, what do you think? What's the fate of Booster 12, buddy?
I mean, I agree with EJ on this one. I think they're going to try and salvage some of it, but for the most part, where are you going to house something that big? It's not like, oh, we can put it out in front of our headquarters like they have with the first landed Falcon 9. I feel like this is so crazy to the point that they would just go, you know what, let's take what we can and the rest we can sell for scrap, or, I mean, if they sold it as like commemorative pieces, that would be cool, but I don't think they will. I think it's just gone.
Ryan?
So there's two. I could see two possibilities. One, they're currently starting in Mega Bay 1, either taking parts off it, or they might be taking the rest of the Raptors off, because I don't think they took them all off at the when they originally brought it back in. I think they only took off some of the outer ones. I think there were still some center ones left in there, but it was kind of hard to tell. They may be taking the rest of them off, and then, or they're maybe putting some on, like older R2s. They may be putting some on and being like, oh, let's kit this thing out, finish it off, and then put it on the only old booster transport stand that still exists, which they just took B14.1 off of. They rolled that back to the Rocket Garden.
That was a test tank, right? What did they use 14.1 for?
That was the one they did all the slap testing with for
Nice.
chopstick testing. That's in high bay right now. My guess is they set that thing on the ground. I would expect them to scrap that in high bay. So that would get scrapped. And then they use that old transport stand, maybe with a full complement of engines back on 12, and kind of spruce it up, make it look nice, kind of like what they did with B1019. And then put it on the old transport stand, maybe make the transport stand look kind of nice, and either park it in the Rocket Garden or stick it in front of the office building, park it down, tie it down, hook it up to some pressurization equipment, and leave it there.
I hope so.
Or something like that. Or they scrap it.
I really hope it's the former and not the latter. The Rocket Garden is, I was going to say was, but it still exists. It is a magical place. And when the public could get that up close and personal with ships and boosters, that was really special. I know, I get why they closed the road, safety, yada, yada. Like, I get it. But also, I hope that, I've said this on many streams, so forgive me if I'm a broken record here, but I really do hope that there's a sort of a return of the Rocket Garden for the public at some point in the future. And I hope that includes Booster 12. And I hope that means that people can get up and close and personal with these vehicles in the future once again. Which is almost sort of an idiotic statement, because they can just go to the beach. But there's not always a vehicle at the pad. That is a real thing. Like I'll be out on the beach shooting some photos of work continuing on the orbital launch mount, and someone will come up to me from Germany and be like, yeah, I planned this trip 6 months ago. I just figured I'd come and see what was out, if there was something or not. And there's not a vehicle on the pad. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I mean, it's still really cool here, but like, there's nothing like seeing a vehicle on the pad. So all that is to say, I really hope they don't scrap 12. We'll keep our eyes on it. We'll let you guys know. Again, follow the socials. As soon as we know what's going on with 12, so will you.
I'm trying to see if they are detanking this. I don't see the hard frost line going down.
It doesn't look like it has, which is weird.
But it is like nearly 40 degrees there. So
also true.
There's a solid chance that it just literally isn't. The steel is still cold from the prop itself, and it's not warm enough there for the frost to melt quick. So they could be like detanked a decent amount. We just don't know because the frost just can't melt. So that's an entire possibility. We just don't know right now.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I did not bring my standard snack cooler with me today. I just put the drinks in my car. My car also doesn't have heat. I don't want to talk about it.
You love that car, huh?
I might have the first thing for EJ and I to to wrench on. I'm just signing EJ up to work on my truck.
Yeah, it is kind of funny.
Conspicuous silence from EJ.
I was gonna say that was very quiet.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I'm doing it willingly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you see what I linked in the back channel,
Yeah.
dudes?
Yeah.
Okay,
Holy
I see
guacamole.
that. Hey, Kevin, can
We should-
I'll give you a minute.
we should
to
look at
pull
that.
up, but we might. There you go.
Yeah.
There's some frost peeling away.
By the way, Kevin loves it when you backseat produce,
just
Ryan.
built up.
It's his favorite thing, so we should do more of it.
I'm
following me,
asking,
camera guy?
I'm not asking him to do it instantly. I'm giving him time to do it. We're talking about other stuff while he's doing it. Okay, I'm not trying to rush Kevin.
Cool,
Pro
Kevin, can
tip,
you
Ryan.
hand this one
Just
6 degrees, tilt the next camera 5 degrees, and then roll the other one 8? Thanks.
pro tip, Ryan. Just wait for Kevin to show it on screen.
I'll wait. I will wait.
Because he's gonna. Because this is a cool image. But
Yes.
until he shows it on screen, we're gonna keep hanging out and talking Starship.
There it is.
Oh,
There we
wait,
go.
wait. Guess where that
There we
is.
go.
Yes.
Guess where that picture was taken in.
Is it in some sort of above ground, like a mountain, maybe like a water dome or like a water mountain? Am I close?
I think we're getting somewhere near there.
Okay.
I think it's something called
is
a
it
blame
a
quench.
soil trough? Is it a trough for soil?
Not for soil. It would probably be for conflagrations.
It's not actually dug in either. It's actually built up.
Chad is losing it.
Yes, it's the
Flame trench.
conflagration hole. Exactly.
Yeah, I like that one.
That reminds me of The Simpsons where Moe is like, "Oh, garage, la-di-da, Mr.
Yeah.
Frenchman," and Homer's like, "What do you call it?" And Moe's like, "Car hole."
But he's in the flame trench.
That is
Yeah,
a really
as we were
cool
as we were
shot.
talking about at the top of the stream, it's not just Starship in the next couple of days. It's also New Glenn, which you better believe NSF is going to do our best to cover with maximum quality. So D and Max and the entire Cape team, Sawyer, or you too, we're all ramping up for this first flight of New Glenn. It's going to be awesome. Are you stoked, Sawyer?
Oh,
or are you
I-
blue, Origin?
I mean, I don't think I'll physically be able to be there just because I'm still recovering. But I mean, I've been waiting for this launch forever. I've been waiting so long to see it. All these years of going out there, and you see Blue's towers going up. I mean, I've watched them grow over the last decade on the skyline there. It's amazing. And now to think there's actually a rocket out at that pad that will hopefully finally launch. Oh, it's going to be massive. It's going to be beautiful. I'm so psyched, in case you can't tell, for New Glenn.
New rockets are always fun.
Hey, guys, I don't mean to say the name of the show over and over again, but I don't know. You looking at that picture, I can't help but think, and this could be EJ's wild speculation here, right? I can't help but think that flame trench looks awfully wide for such a small core diameter. You notice
That's
that?
not even
Doesn't-
EJ's wild speculation, right? Didn't they size
Yeah.
the construction there at the pad to essentially be appropriately sized for New Armstrong? Which, if y'all don't know, New Glenn. I'm gonna butcher this description. New Glenn was described either by Dave Limp or Jeff Bezos or just
Dave Limp.
Blue as a medium performing version of a high performance architecture. Presumably that would be New Armstrong, which is a much bigger rocket than even New Glenn is. So I don't think that's speculation, EJ. I think they just are.
They built it big on purpose.
I
They
mean-
did what
Oh, yeah.
the Apollo engineers did at 39A.
Future proofed it. And the other part to that is like when it comes to New Glenn, I mean you'd have to get the new tooling, but I mean it's kind of the same thing with Starship. If they ended up decided to, I mean they're kind of stuck to 9 meters at the moment, especially with everything they've built, they're stuck to 9 meters. But I could see a new version. It wouldn't really even be Starship anymore, but you bring it up to 12. I could see New Glenn going up to, what, 10? Bring New Glenn
Please.
up to 10, and it wouldn't be New Glenn anymore. It's New Armstrong, and you still can use the BE4. I mean, you're gonna that engine. The more they fly it, the better it's gonna get. They're gonna refine it. They'll upgrade it. They'll make it even better. And what a 10-meter one with how many engines you put on that thing? I'm trying to think of how many engines you could fit on that thing.
9.
More than 9. If you go to like,
No, it's 9. Trust me.
I think it's just
Source.
9.
I know.
Yeah. Number 9? Number 9?
Is the source you made it up?
I mean,
No, there was I'm a little weird, and I go look at the job postings on all these sites, and I distinctly remember Blue having a job posting about a 9-engine first stage.
so I gotta ask, would that be New Armstrong, or would that be an upgraded version of New Glenn?
I feel like that's an upgraded New Glenn.
I don't know.
I feel like a New Armstrong would need like 12.
Like,
Or
Also, are we
Or-
talking changing the diameter of the vehicle at all? Because if it's the same diameter, then it's still New Glenn.
could you fit 2 more engines down there?
I feel like
I don't
it's
know.
tight enough for them to actually fit the 7 in there, if we're being honest.
I don't know if they could fit 2 more in there. I really don't know. It wouldn't look very symmetric. I don't think it looks. I mean, you'd have to kind of fit them in the outer ring. It'd have to be like an outer ring of 9. They might have to increase the diameter of the engine section slightly to do it.
Yeah, because again, keep in mind, the engine bells that we see are just the engine bells. That doesn't count all of the tubing and
Turbo
piping and
pumps.
all the behind-the-scenes stuff that's actually inside that tapered end of the rocket. Which, a reminder, the bottom of that rocket at the tapered portion is 8.5 meters. That's about the same diameter as the core stage of SLS.
Yeah,
That's still big.
Like, they could always make that taper even wider, right? And stuff some more engines on there. Although I can't help but feel like we're thinking about Blue Origin and New Glenn in a distinctly SpaceX way. Like something tells me the way that Blue Origin is going to iterate New Glenn is not going to be the same way we've seen SpaceX iterate Starship. Because
Well-
they just are different programs. They're run differently.
That's true, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Blue Origin took that route and ended up, slightly modifying the aft end of New Glenn to be slightly wider and stick 2 more engines in there to make a more powerful version of that rocket. I mean, when you look at it, it's like, okay, you could make an entirely new rocket and make it wider, but you're already at, was it 7 for the rest of it, and that fairing is already like, you have a ton of space in that fairing, and if you wanted to add more volume in it, you make it. Well, what's the term for it? Like the way Falcon 9 is set up with the fairing, like it bulges out a little bit.
Embiggen?
Embiggen.
High taper fairing.
What did you say, EJ?
It's high taper fairing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So they could.
It's not
they
called
could,
that.
or hammerhead fairing, as someone said. So they could
cromulent fairing.
they could increase the diameter of the fairing too if they wanted to add more volume to it. But like, you could do modifications to the base architecture of New Glenn and make it an even more powerful, more capable rocket than it already is. And if you're Blue Origin, why wouldn't you? If you do increase the capabilities, it just makes reusing your second stage even easier. Because if you get more power out of your first, it's easier to reuse your second and still get more capability out of it. So why not try? I could see them doing that. It'd be really cool to see that.
I want to see a New Glenn 9. I absolutely want to see a New Glenn 9.
Someone in chat was saying New Glevy for the 9 engine version, like New Glenn and Heavy portmanteau, like New Glevy. EJ, New Glevy, yeah.
I like New Glenn Strong. Thank you very much.
New Glenn Strong is pretty good too.
New Arm Glenn.
Are you more of a wormball guy or a metahedron?
Metahedron.
What?
Metahedron all day.
Oh heck yeah! All right, cool.
Why does
Glad we're
that
on the
sound
same
so
page.
disgusting?
Hey.
Get your head out of the trench, Sawyer.
No, not even like that. A metahedron? All I'm thinking of is the weirdest looking steak in my mind,
Hey,
and
look.
it's so strange.
Now I want steak.
It's Coyote.
There's been some
E16
mistake.
asking, what's the best or easiest airport to fly into? I'm gonna say Brownsville. That's BRO. Oh, is it a pup?
Don't tell Adrian, who apparently it turns out has been woken up by coyotes at Starbase and had nightmares about it. Oh wait, I wasn't supposed to say
What?
that, was I?
Oh, no, they don't give nightmares. They
Oh.
give friendly vibes.
Yeah,
Hey,
except he was
Adrian,
asleep
I
and all of
think
a sudden heard a coyote howl in the middle of the night, not realizing he had a tab open, and yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So
So apparently he woke up in a giant sweat after that. So sorry, Adrian, for outing you like that. You can send me as many spiders as you want in retaliation.
Chat
Sawyer,
is
I
just
think
coming
I
up
see
with
some
new
tire
Glenn
marks on
names
his
left
back.
and right. New
Oh,
Gleam,
man.
New Glenn again, old Glum.
New Gleam.
There's some
New
there's some good-
Gleam.
Glenn with the double N.
So, I'll say this: we are getting. We definitely have signs of detanking now. There's frost receding on the booster CH4 tank. Looks like there's a little bit on the booster LOX tank, and then of course some on the ship tank itself. So they are detanking. It's just taking a little bit for the frost to go away. I think because just the temperature at Starbase. Because usually when they do these, the temperature is in like the 60s, 70s or higher, sometimes in the 90s, not down into the 40s. So the frost will go away quicker, obviously, when it's warmer outside. So, you know.
Yeah, makes sense.
I do know.
Well, I do think we're going to keep going, answering some questions here. We do have a This Week in Spaceflight premiering in a little bit because it is Friday. So if you want all of your space news that you didn't get on the Flame Trench this week, like, oh, I don't know, Mars sample return up, or insert other topic here. Mobile launch
Ooh,
Jackson,
I
2
love that topic.
getting stacked.
Yeah.
So the Flame Trench is coming. We'll talk more about it here in a little bit. But let's keep
Could
answering
we,
questions in the meantime.
Would you even call MSR what that press conference was an update? Would you even call it that? I wouldn't call it an update.
I mean, no. There is some, like, drama going on, though, right?
I mean, I don't even know if I'd call it drama. NASA basically looked at their MSR options in April of last year, canceled it, and then made a team to figure out, a better way to do it, and they came up with almost the exact same way.
So what you're telling me is they spent a bunch of money to find out how to not spend as much money, only to find out that they had to spend as much money.
Yep. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's a good way of saying that.
I hate it. Thanks.
It's time is a circle, That's why
Yeah.
clocks are round. So, yeah.
Yeah. We don't have enough money to do this. Let's spend a bunch of money to figure out how we can do this cheaper. Oh, it's going to take the same amount of money. Ugh. I'm so glad SpaceX exists.
Well,
It's
I
so
feel like
nice to
Yeah.
have things in the spaceflight arena that are not really frustrating. Hi, Sawyer.
Hey. I think that's my cue to answer. I feel like, I get the idea of, hey, we can have commercial, pick up the baton. We've talked about that for a while. Yeah, it really feels like they spent money to say the same exact thing, but I mean, I get it. I also get that they want the architecture of, hey, let's make it so that we don't need to go pick it up somewhere else and launch another launch vehicle, even though that's kind of what they were always planning. I get them wanting to reiterate that and open it up to commercial. So I think they have a chance to save a little money. We're not talking a lot, but hey, for the federal government, every dollar counts.
What if they just I know this is going to sound like SpaceX fanboy nonsense. I assure you I'm level-headed.
Right.
Uh-oh.
What if they just yeet a Starship at Mars in the next transfer window? Which is what? This year, right? Like,
Yeah.
SpaceX wants to go to Mars anyways, right? Like, would that save some money, maybe?
Is it this
Jack,
year? Or is it
they,
26?
Well, the last, because New Glenn was supposed to launch Escapade at the end of 24 for this window, so I guess it would be 26.
Yeah, it would be 26. That's a good point.
Grumble.
So, okay. I think so. That review team for MSR, Jack, they had two options. One option was basically the exact same way they were going to do it before, with some slight variations to hopefully save some money later. The second option was a commercial option, but they couldn't tell us what commercial options they were looking at because it contained proprietary information. So one of them was like, one of the options was like, yeah, we're going to do the same thing, but somehow it's going to cost less. And option two is we're going to do almost the exact same thing, but it's going to be a commercial lander, but we can't tell you how it works. So they might send a Starship there, and that would be great for lifting capacity but the truth of the matter is that NASA's looking at a big problem here. The big problem is that they need a lander. They need something on Mars that can do 20. They need something that gets near Mars that can do 20 tons down mass, meaning get 20 tons to the surface of Mars. We don't have anything like that. The thing that moved the highest mass payload to the surface was the Sky Crane. But NASA, in that press interview, said that they had to, even with that, they would have to make the size bigger by 20% to be able to handle landing quite literally a sample collector and a launch pad and a launch vehicle to get back up into space. They have to land the entire ascent vehicle, right? So what you're looking at here is like these ways, like, they said it's going to cost, it could cost billions of dollars less. No, it won't. It won't, because you're doing the same thing. Even if there is a commercial option, you could possibly save some cash here and there, but you're still doing the same thing at the end of the day. At the end of the day, NASA needs a Mars ascent and descent vehicle, dude. That's what they need. And I don't know if they want to try and make the Sky Crane bigger. You go make that Sky Crane bigger if you really want to, but the problem you're going to run into is, okay, now you got to make the parachutes bigger, and a parachute like that doesn't exist. So you're running into some real problems here. That's why this mission is going to carry itself up in the billions, because it's not the Martian, man. We don't have a Mars ascent and descent vehicle. And the quicker that they address this problem, the quicker we're going to save some cash.
Right. Well, we'll see what happens. Go ahead, Ryan. Wasn't Blue saying that they were going to launch Escapade this year, though? Ryan, also, you're muted.
That's a fail. Gotta love it. Yeah. Anyway.
2025.
Off to a great start. Let's go. November, December of 2026 is that next window. But I also was thinking, heard Escapade was spring of this year, I think it was. But I think you can only really do that if you have enough Delta V to do it. Which with a high energy upper stage like New Glenn has, you might be able to still pull that off with enough Delta V to do it. So
right, I mean, Escapade is very small and tiny and light, and New Glenn is huge. And even though there's not necessarily a transfer window this year for the most efficient or speediest, journey to Mars, New Glenn, I guess, has enough Delta V, has enough performance to not really care. So hopefully we do get to see Escapade launched here soon. Do we know what flight of Glenny that's going to be? Is that going to be Flight 2, Flight 3? Do we know yet?
Okay, I could be pulling this out of my tailpipe, but I think it's the second flight. Pretty sure.
That sounds right to me. That sounds like what my brain is telling me is right, but I don't know that that's true for sure. But I'll take your word for it.
But that sounds like a long wait at this point then. If, again, we are assuming that it's either the end of the spring, which they would have to hit, and if not, 2026, I feel like they wouldn't risk it. I mean, yeah, NASA wants to get this payload up. They obviously want it at Mars, the sooner the better. But I don't know. It's one of those, or I guess it's kind of like with Vulcan, where you were supposed to have Dream Chaser, and instead you flew a block of concrete. I could see something more like that happening, weirdly.
Because it also, like, when talking to Glenn, you also have to be like, okay, well, let's assume this. Let's assume Flight 1 goes well. Let's assume they get to orbit. Maybe they don't land the rocket, but assume they get to orbit, they deploy the payload, and they have they accomplish their actual mission objectives, which is get to orbit, deploy the payload. Depending on whatever they run into during that flight, you then becomes a question of when would the next New Glenn stack be ready to fly. And then, of course, what if it doesn't go right? What if they run into an issue? What if it isn't successful? Then what happens then? How long does it take them to get to a second flight there? So that's a really big question mark. I really don't know how quickly they can get from flight 1 to flight 2. So yeah, that's a big question mark for New Glenn for me.
We'll see. I mean, I don't know. Do we want to go around the horn? EJ, how quickly do you think they'll be able to get from flight 1 to flight 2?
It's going to take some time. It's not going to be... Blue is following a slightly different kind of testing regime. So basically what they're going to do after flight 1 is review a lot of data. It's going to take some time. My gut's telling me like at least 6 months. But I could be wrong, and I hope I am. I would love to be proven wrong here. There's a lot of stuff to look at. There's a lot of New Glenn is like, if you guys think about the complexity of the system, right? You know, it's not like Falcon 9 where they launched it with no legs, and then they launched it with no legs, and then the next thing they did was launch it with legs, but had it soft splashdown, and then they launched it with legs again, and then they had the legs deploy and did another soft splashdown in the ocean. And they gradually build up to RTLS. This thing's just going to, well, not RTLS. This thing's just going to land on the drone ship on the first try. That's a lot of stuff to look over, a lot of stuff to review, just because from the sheer complexity of that first stage. And I'm not saying that's like a demerit thing. That's just the way they're testing it.
Well,
if everything works, what's up?
It's also just like once you get it, like if they actually do land the booster, I almost feel like that would increase the amount of time between flights, just because they're going to tear that thing apart. And when you land a booster and you recover the pieces, you can say, oh, let's take a look at that valve. Oh, wow, that valve was a couple seconds away from going kaput or what have you. Like that, the data you get, if they do successfully recover on the first attempt, that might even mean it takes them longer to go through that. I don't know. I'm spitballing.
I mean, Jack, flight data is king. Flight data is king here. You cannot replicate flight data. You cannot test for flight data. Like, you could do smaller tests, but flight data is king. A landing with New Glenn is huge, and that they're really going to want to go through all that and all the telemetry. You hear this all the time in space. Oh, we're going to review the data. We're going to review the data. What does that mean? They're going to review the data and make sure the thing wasn't 1 second away from blowing up, if it does land, right? And that kind of stuff you can learn a ton from. And depending on how much they learn, or best case scenario, don't learn, will determine when the next flight is. But that either way, they have to review a lot of data, and that's going to take some time. So yeah, I would say like probably 3 to 4 months for the next New Glenn. But that doesn't necessarily, also real quick, that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't get to a higher launch cadence later. Once they build out and test the whole thing, and make sure that New Glenn and its landing legs and their exoatmospheric retro burn is what they call it, like all that works correctly, and the landing burn works correctly, we could see high frequency with these things. New Glenn is designed to be turned around really, really fast. That's why its landing legs, for instance, kind of look like landing gear on an airplane. It's designed to be, hopefully in the future, designed to be for like zero downtime. At least that's what I think Blue's plan is.
Oh, I can't wait. The next couple days are going to be so exciting.
It's going to be awesome, dude.
Are they?
Yes, they are. They're so exciting. I'm like melting into my seat here. Let me sit up. But no, it's gonna be a treat. Like I always love the first flights of new vehicles because you never know what's gonna happen. That thing could get 20 feet off the ground and go pop. It could be wildly successful and land the booster on the first try. Like, we just don't know what's gonna happen, and that's what makes it so darn exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it is going to be something very special, whatever happens, that's for sure. And I think in terms of getting the pace up for it, I think the big thing is going to be the fact that, they need to get at least 2 successful orbital flights under their belt to be able to get those national security contracts. I don't think they necessarily at this point care what the second payload is in terms of whether it's Escapade or something else. I think they will get that second flight as quick as they can safely, so that they can start flying those military payloads, which are really what's going to bank them the bank, shall we say.
Yeah. And we have an update here on screen. All right, now it's an update on Starship's flight. There's no change. There's no need to panic. There's nothing that we are saying is happening right now based on this. We are merely pointing out a thing that we have noticed. Shout out to Need Pizza and Adrian in the back channel for noticing this real fast. One of the navigational warnings I believe now both of the navigational warnings for Starship in the Indian Ocean have been canceled. This could be because they're going to be reposted with some slight tweaks. Not a big deal yet. Not something to panic over yet.
Jack, I'm
Not
panicking.
something to base travel plans or viewing plans off of.
Jack, I'm panicking.
Says Eric
Don't
Friends
panic.
in chat
Don't
during the flame
panic,
trench,
EJ.
by the way.
EJ,
I'm panicking.
don't panic. Deep breaths. Do you have a paper bag you can breathe into? Everything I know about TV and movies has told me that is helpful for some reason.
Right? Paper bag?
I'm
Paper
good.
bag breathing?
I'm
right?
I'm good. I'm good.
All I had was an empty can, but Jake knocked it off my desk.
I have
Yeah, we
this
heard.
cold snack here.
Yeah.
This is fine.
But yeah, this is just a small update. Keep your eyes, again, on the socials, because as we hear more things, as we get more tea leaves to read ahead of both New Glenn and Starship's launch, we will keep y'all posted. So again, don't panic. Probably going to be reposted. Probably still Monday. But a watch item, let's call it. How about that? I do want to thank some more people because we are so far behind. So Telstar86, thank you. They say, how will they move the orbital launch mount from Pad B to the launch site? How many SPMTs will they need? Looks as wide as Highway 4. I don't know. They're just going to have to see what happens when they do that. Titan 3C, nice name. They say, the Block 2 ship has increased the bacon height of the full stack from 472.8 pieces to a whopping 483.6 pieces of bacon based on the average slice of bacon.
I like bacon.
I love bacon. That's remarkable. Good job, Titan 3C. Troy, thank you for the support. They're asking, is Block 2 booster taller than 1? Side-by-side photo, maybe. Fun fact, it's not a Block 2 booster. It's a Block 1 booster and a Block 2 ship. So it's like a Block 1.5 stack.
1.75.
Yeah, so
Yeah, shallow and pedantic.
Oh, God.
1.33.
But yeah,
repeating,
no,
of course.
booster same size. Ship taller, one ring taller. Astro95 Media, thank you for the support. What's
Nate.
up, buddy, also? They say, probably missing Flight 7 unless they slide, so I'll be tuning in from Houston. And curious, I know Sawyer was there for STS-135. Did Jack or EJ ever get to experience the magic of a shuttle launch? Oh, buddy. Did I ever?
Baby.
A bunch, in fact. I'm extremely lucky I grew up in Florida. I saw a bunch of shuttle launches. I saw a couple from super up close. We got a car pass one time. I think that was STS-88. But STS-88 wasn't Atlantis, and I'm pretty sure the shuttle I saw was Atlantis. So I need to figure out what shuttle I actually saw for the first time, but I've seen a bunch. EJ, what about you? Shuttle?
I went to college in Florida, so I saw STS-116 and 117.
Heck yeah.
And then
They were
awesome.
magical. They were magical. It's those
I
things
did
are
see-
so cool.
The shuttle is just bonkers. Like side-mounted vehicle, space plane, solids on a crewed vehicle. Like I've said this before. As time goes on, I am increasingly nostalgic for shuttle. I don't want it back, but I look back on it, and it just, with every passing year, it just seems that much more of
Jack?
an insane idea to me.
Dude, real quick. You said you don't want it back, but
I want shuttle 2.0,
discussing,
EJ.
right? Well, I mean, you're looking at it on the screen.
Heck yeah.
I was discussing this with my chat over on Twitch the other day. I stream on Twitch, everybody. Streaming right now if you care. Shameless plug. Whatever. Anyway,
Everybody go to Twitch right now and Brigade EJ's stream and type the word bacon in his chat.
You could do that. I told my mods that that's okay. Anyway, so we were discussing this is just kind of a weird contingency here. Everybody's like, oh, why do we need SLS? Right? That's a lot of bacon in my chat. Why do we need SLS, right, when we have Starship, right? Why do we need SLS if we have Starship? Imagine if you will, and this is just kind of a conditional hypothetical, right? Would you like the shuttle if it was still flying, right now, doing routine resupply with Dragon maybe moving people up, right? And not having SLS at all. If the shuttle basically kept flying until it was eclipsed by Starship, right?
I mean, was it would it in this scenario? Would it be safe?
Yeah, of
At
course. It was. Hey, you know, people bash Mike Griffin all the time, but his tenure as NASA administrator got the shuttle running on a pretty dang routine and safe schedule. Considering, you know, the loss of vehicle from his predecessor, right?
Right.
Discovery Atlantis Endeavour got operating on a routine schedule and got the ISS finished before the end of the shuttle program, which is pretty cool. Remember,
Super cool.
STS-135 was a supplementary mission. That was not an assembly flight. It was a supplementary resupply.
Mhm.
So they completed it on schedule. Well, on schedule. It was supposed to be done in 1986, but that's another story.
And it was also supposed to be done in 2005, and yeah.
Yep.
I mean, also, just like, while I agree with your statement, EJ, that Griffin got the shuttle running on a tight ship, I just don't. I don't know that I can ever classify shuttle as safe. I don't know. I just don't. It's just,
dude. This is a whole can of worms, so we won't get too much into it. I think that the shuttle's design really doesn't have many problems. I know people are going to look at me funny, but hear me out.
No.
Hear me out.
This is dude. This is a huge can of worms.
I think the shuttle program, from a programmatic standpoint, from a management standpoint, was not managed correctly at all.
I mean, I would agree with that too.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. I think the shuttle's design is fantastic. It is
Solids
a fantastic
on a crew vehicle, side-mounted orbiter with tile TPS next to a tank that sheds foam and ice on the way up.
And no escape until the solids separated.
Yeah, no, thank you. No abort for 2.5 minutes while the solids are going. Like, come on, dude.
Okay, so with the exception of STS-51L, right, where they purposely put the boosters into an induced failure state and called it a safety mechanism, which it absolutely wasn't, as if the boosters are operated correctly, you don't have a problem here. Solid rockets have moved more people to space than any other liquid rocket by a long shot, dude. So, I mean, I don't know what we're talking about here.
Well, yeah, if shuttle didn't exist, that number would not be true, though.
Yeah, but it did.
Yes.
It turns out when you have SRBs with two redundant O-ring design, right, and the Thiokol engineers say don't launch it in the cold, and you do, something goes wrong. That's shock Pikachu face. I think once again that's a management problem completely. I think schedule pressure there is what caused that problem, right?
That
and then
also wasn't the first time it happened, though. There had been burn through in the O-rings. They just got lucky in the previous ones.
I think that's where EJ is coming from, where it's a management failure, not necessarily a
you didn't recognize the failure.
I would argue that an inherently safe system does not allow management to screw things up bad enough with the hardware. That, like, I get where you're coming from, and I don't entirely disagree. But I feel like it should be engineered in such a way that it can't be stupidly managed.
I mean, I love Shuttle. It's still my favorite launch vehicle of all time. I still love everything about it, what it symbolized to the world, essentially, what it was able to accomplish, the inaugural, basically reusable space vehicle that led to what we have today with Falcon 9 and Starship and New Glenn. I mean, I love that thing probably to a fault, but I think there was definitely much more that could have been done. A little bit engineering-wise, but 1,000,000% management-wise. I still think there were some engineering faults.
I also think there's just a whole bunch with the shuttle where they just kicked the can down the road, didn't ever really improve things how they should have, partly because of budgetary reasons. And again, this comes back to EJ saying management stuff, which, again, I don't entirely disagree with. I also just, it physically pains me to refer to the shuttle as safe for reasons. But I understand your counter-argument, EJ. Let's table this. I want to keep talking about this on the next plane trench, but we're getting close. Yeah. We're getting very close to the end of this stream and the start of the premiere of This Week in Spaceflight. So I do want to take a moment and thank everybody who has been supporting us, because I said I was going to go fast and do that, and then we got like 2 questions in, and someone said shuttle.
Sorry, that's totally my fault, boys. Totally my fault.
And here we are. So in about 3 minutes, we're going to go live with a premiere for this week in Spaceflight. So here we go with that in just a second. But really quickly, Paul, thank you. Anonymous, thank you. I don't even know if these are going to show up on screen because you all did so much support. I'm pretty sure it broke the panel. So I will do my best, but I'm at least going to say your names. Tad, thank you so much. David, Corey, PH, Daniel, Telstar86 again, Cheese Tasting Enthusiast again, becoming a Capcom member, the Splendid Cat Duck, that makes no sense, Apocalypse Cow, thank you for
faster,
the
Jack.
super chat, Pete, Tyson, Scott, Jean-Pierre, Dylan, Nebular, Mecca, Stewart, Boas, the Splendid Cat Duck again.
Mouse.
Thank you. Kirby, Brian, Deborah Jean. Deborah Jean says, Merry Christmas to myself, Raptor hoodie and Flight 7 patch. Love the merch store. Gifted money to me. Gifted to NSF. Going to be a great week. Thanks, Deborah Jean. Always see your name pop up in chat. Stephanie, thank you for the store purchase. They say, thank you for the coverage. Y'all are the best. Please tell Jake my cat to say hi. P.S. Hi, mama. Thank you, Stephanie. Scott Carr, thank you. Roche, thank you. JD, thank you. I'd rather be flying an X-Wing, thank you. They demand a chat command and an emoji to alert the hosts when they're talking while muted. I wonder why, Ryan. Langdon, Wayne, Lords of Random, Jerwa, thank you, Jerwa. Always love seeing your name pop up, and everybody else's. RC Horseman 2, Jay, Joseph, Space Pope, and Donnie. Wow, I did that with good
job.
Just the right amount of time to spare. So
That was great.
So do we think this thing's going to go on Monday? Let's make that the last question of the trench. Sawyer, go.
Yes, I think so.
That's your whole answer? Buddy, we have
I'm
a minute
watching
and
the
a half
clock.
to fill.
We have a
We have a
countdown
minute
clock.
and a half to fill.
Yeah, and
DJ.
there's 2 other people.
Well, I think that, if you're asking the question that is it going to go on Monday, that's a really funny question to ask. And my answer to that question is
Jesus
a really
Christ.
funny one in my. Sorry. It's like, dude, it's like back in middle school. You got to
So
fill up all
good.
the words.
Hitting the word limit.
I don't know, man. With those no temps chains, I'm going to say Tuesday. I'm going to $1 Sawyer again. Sorry, man.
But again, we're not reporting anything. Don't panic. Don't change your plans. Don't plan anything
Yeah.
based off of this, but keep your eyes on those no tails. Ryan, you have 48 seconds roughly. No, you have like 30 seconds because I got to do an outro. Go.
Okay. I'll go with maybe. We'll see. Assuming the wet dress is good to go and everything else, it might go on Monday. We'll see what the weather looks like. The weather is not great, at least almost all of next week in Boca. So I don't know.
Thanks, American Alex.
Flip a coin. Flip a coin.
Flip a coin. Thanks. All right. So
Okay.
thank you again to everybody coming out, supporting the stream and supporting what we do. Thank you to our flight engineers. Thank you to our launch directors. Thank you to SpaceX for making a really cool vehicle for us to cover. Keep your eyes on NSF. Watch the socials. Watch the channel. Do the like button. Subscribe. Here we go. Let's all go watch the premiere of Twist. Thanks, Kevin and Jay, for producing.
Thank you, Jack.
Aw.
Yeah.
And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be nominal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Rolling up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water towers, fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight down to SPD off. Say again, SPD off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage. Put that in the big bag, Jingle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
This methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. You bet. We don't need any more of these.